Hello, anybody who's out there. It's Rob here with the first stream of 2024 Random Access Memories. And with me tonight is Mike.
And only Mike, as it were.
And Snarb's here.
We see you, Snarb. Don't worry. You don't have to caps lock it. We see you.
Yes. Your presence is welcome, as always.
Indeed.
So, what is Random Access Memories besides a Daft Punk album? Well, we're just going to be talking about a bunch of random shit, pretty much.
Yeah, we didn't really have a better idea, so this is what you get tonight.
Exactly. Sorry, there's a cat trying to poke its way under my door here, so I had to kind of stop it.
He'll do that.
Yep. So, well, how is everyone in this new year? Snarb? How about you, Mike?
Cautious. Just plain cautious. Not even sure if cautiously optimistic. Because I don't know. We'll see. We'll just see how things turn out. But
well, I'll just say I've made it through another year.
Survived a year. That's really the best assessment I can give. Yeah.
So if you lose this writing challenge, you're gonna have to watch Saw 2.
Oh yeah. We've been writing. We've each been attempting to write a book. One, he's doing fiction. I'm doing nonfiction, and we put a marker to reach 5,000 words in each of our projects by a certain due date. And if we don't meet the deadline, we have to watch a punishment film that we're pretty sure we're going to hate.
That one definitely qualifies.
Yeah. Snarb is one of the biggest Saw haters I know, and he even convinced me to an extent that the first film even kind of sucks, and it was a really bad idea that it just kind of became a big franchise with all the retcons and the originator of the torture porn subgenre that I felt was one of several factors that kind of ruined horror movies in the 2000s. But we're not discussing movies tonight strictly, so
No, I'm just gonna say that the first two Saws are the only ones I've ever seen, and honestly, once the surprise was revealed at the end of Saw, that kind of really didn't want to make me rewatch it. It's like, okay, I'm not going to be surprised.
That's exactly what Snark thinks. You vindicated the man. Congratulations.
Thank you. And 2 lost me at one part in particular.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Well, it stars a fucking Wahlberg in it. It's not the one who's most popular and that I centrally hate, but by proxy, that's already kind of a minus, so...
Now, it's got nothing to do with the actors, I'll tell you that.
Okay, I see. Well, we'll see if I try to identify that one bad part, then, or if there will be multiple bad parts, and I will have to ask you which specifically one was the worst.
Well, I mean, it's just kind of bad in general, so...
Alright, well...
How they ended up getting to, Saw 56 or whatever it is now, I have no clue.
Yeah, I think there's, 10 or 11 fucking movies. Jesus Christ.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, the best thing that the guys that made Saw ever did was repo the genetic opera.
Yeah, Darren Lynn Bousman actually did do a legitimately fun film. Campy as shit, very kind of I don't know, techno-goth. I don't know how to describe the specific aesthetic it's going for, but I thought Repo was fun, and I'm normally not too big on musicals, but It's a good time.
There was one part that it's like every movie has, I guess you'd call a forgivable flaw. Well, most movies anyway. This one had one too. It was that like teenage rebellion number.
Oh yeah. I think I remember hearing that. Yeah, no, that was like the cheer up Charlie of the whole
Speaking
ensemble.
of forgivable flaws,
Exactly. Always go to get a fucking snack or drink when that part comes on. It's just so fillery.
exactly.
But again, that's not video games, so
True. On just one more note about Repo, my favorite character was Blind Mag.
oh yeah, she was awesome.
Yeah.
Really gorgeous. And I do recommend you check out The Devil's Carnival sometime, which is pretty much the same team. It's also a significantly shorter film, so
Okay.
you know, if I think it's only like 45 minutes or something. So yeah, I'd say give that a view sometime and let me know what you think.
All right. Well, I see Sharon's here too.
Hey Sharon, what up?
So, you ready to do some hardcore ripping apart of Bubsy and Awesome Possum tonight?
Yes, that'd be perfect.
All right. We're just kidding with you, Sharon.
Although I'm sure Snarb would protest us attacking Bubsy to an extent, so...
Well, it's okay. Honestly, I played worse than Bubsy. Much worse.
Yeah.
Still not a huge fan of it, but...
No, yeah, Bubsy was actually kind of one of the better-ish games of that whole rash of Me Too Sonic ripoffs. Awesome Possum, I think, might actually be the bottomest of bottom lines. I really can't think of anything that was shittier than that. And if there is something shittier, I really do not want to know. It would be like looking into the anus of Azathoth or something like that.
Oh, I'm sure there's something worse.
Ooh,
I'm
boy.
sure there is. Just a matter of finding it. I'll do that just for you.
Thank you.
Okay. So, let's see. Well, we killed the past 10 minutes with small talk about movies and such. So, yes. So, what exactly are our random access memories? Well, why don't we start at the beginning? Good place to start.
Yes. So Thomas Bangalter and Guy Manuel de Homem Cristo got together at some rave. No, I'll shut up now.
Wrong random access memories. And they bonded over Tron. We know that.
Of all
Hey,
things.
video game related.
I actually considered starting on Tron 2.0 today, but I don't know. I'm just trying to clock down my backlog in the meanwhile.
Yeah, that's understandable. But let's see. Obviously, when it comes to video games, everyone has to start somewhere. So, what better place to start than with like our early experiences with video games?
Yeah. The earliest that we can think of, I genuinely do not remember anything in life since before I was 4 years old. Actually, the earliest memory of anything I have, not game-related, is actually a dream where I comically ran off a cliff a la Roadrunner.
You what?
Yeah, no, that's the earliest memory I have. I watched a shitload of Looney Tunes, and that probably influenced that. Also sounds a little morbid now that I think about it, but it is what it is.
That's okay. I have the vaguest memory of actually looking up while I was lying in my crib and staring at the ceiling.
That's more mundane, but I'm surprised you can remember that you had a crib. I don't even remember that far back.
Honestly, so am I. I'm very surprised by that.
Well, I mean, it's not as crazy as Beavis being able to remember when he was in the womb.
That was great.
Yeah.
All right. So, tell you what, since you're the youngin' here, so to speak.
Yeah.
Hey, Great White North.
Hey, Great. What up?
Sorry you're at work and sick. That sucks.
Oh, man, everyone's sick. God damn it.
I'm the one with the
Sorry to hear
compromised
that,
immune
man.
system. Yet,
Yeah, it's the season, I guess.
Yet I seem to be doing okay. Knock on wood.
Well, don't you get a medal. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, Rex is here.
And hey, Rex, what up?
All right, Mike. So, as the relative youngin, why don't you go ahead and talk about your early experience with video games?
Yeah, earliest one that I don't actually directly remember playing this when I was 2 years old, but there is video evidence to document it. The very, very first video game that I legitimately know that I played because it was on a home VHS tape was, of all things, the unlikely choice of Low G-Man. Like, not Super Mario Brothers, not Castlevania. Low fucking G-Man, of all games. Not, I'd say, one of the most sterling action platformers on the NES, but just due to nostalgia alone, it is one that I kinda have some, fairly fond memories of. I did at least think that the game looked pretty neat. It had this very curious neo-techno art style to it that and it is pretty colorful, and the music's pretty good too. So
The thing that got me about that was the opening.
oh yeah. How'd it go?
Something
it was
peaceful planet.
Beautiful sunsets and booming cities, but then they came.
We'll
send in Low G-Man. Yes, burned in my brain, totally.
Thank you for that unplanned doodling of the music.
Man, we should do some sort of like name that tune bullshit on one of these streams or whatever. But
yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, actually. I'm going to bring it up again at the end, but I do want to go ahead and basically announce here that at some point in the near future, we're going to be running a half-hour quiz show here on Dyer and Betty.
Yeah, it was an idea that I want to say 100% that I'm the one who came up with the very initial idea of this, but I did just kind of fart it out while brainstorming ideas that we could have for tonight's stream. And, just pitched the idea of a quiz show, which Rob then added a lot on top of, and then we figured that this would probably be best if we had an actual group going, but we ended up liking the idea, so...
So we're going to pick 3 lucky contestants who will try and win his or her weight in fish. I mean, well, you know what I mean.
Weight in ducks.
There will be actual prizes, though.
Yeah.
So
nice.
Stay tuned. I'll be posting more about this the closer it gets. And when it comes time to actually pick our contestants, we'll put out a general notice. If you're on the Discord, you'll probably see it there. I'll probably post it on my Twitter. I still refuse to call it X. So.
Fuck you, Musk. You fucking fucks.
I hate that. You can try and make that as quiet as possible. I can still hear it. I think everyone else
I even wrote a poem about him lately that I'm kind of proud of. But
yeah, we'll get to that. We're not streaming.
On stream. Yeah. Don't want to embarrass myself, but I digress.
Anyway. So let's take a look at the chat here. Looks like Rex says the first game he played was Tetris. Or Tempest. Tempest.
Both are good choices, be fair. Tempest, fucking classic, one of, if not my favorite Atari game from that era. Just, I've always loved the speed of it. It's a very frenetic game, and I just love spinning the frickin' dial and just trying to evade everything all at once, and usually it doesn't go so hot, but it's a really good time. Still.
Tempest is great.
Mm-hmm.
That they were actually going to try and port it to the Atari 2600, though, just kind of boggles the mind.
I was going to say, I'm not surprised that didn't pan out. I really couldn't fathom that all that well.
There's a prototype out there.
Holy shit.
It's not a very good prototype, but...
I was going to ask.
That's probably why I got canned.
Well, yeah, okay.
Let's see. And Snarb says, thinks one of the earliest he remembers is... And, I never could figure out how to pronounce a stupid thing.
Karateka? It's either Karateka or Karateka. I'm not exactly sure.
And let's see. And
Hey, Snarb, you heard about that? The making of Karateka package that's been released recently, and how it's like basically a interactive video game documentary. I've heard it's really cool. And
also, welcome to the stream, Willow and Prime.
Oh, hey, Willow. She's one of my friends, actually.
Oh, nice.
Hey there. What up? And hey, Prime. What is up? Space Invaders is a very good choice, really. That's one of those like, can't really argue.
There ain't nothing wrong with that, Prime.
That is not a game I would call overrated. Not like
wait, Snarb may have changed his answer here. It looks like a shareware Hangman game on the same computer.
I vaguely remember some. There are probably lots of those variants of those. Heck, I think one of the Dr. Brains had a type of Hangman thingy on it. Rex says the first time I played Super Mario Brothers 2 was on a Play Choice 10. I never before played a game where you press up to enter doors, so I was stuck on the first.
Geez, that's gotta suck.
Yeah.
And Willis says that their first may have been Spyro.
That is a great choice. It's been a long time since I played the first Spyro. I remember really enjoying it, but I never got on any of the sequels, and I feel like I should have at least gotten on Ripto's Rage.
I think I was in college when that came out.
Right, I would have been. Oh, geez, like. Actually, if I say that, then you'd probably feel old, so I'll straight away.
I already feel old, Mike.
Okay, fair enough.
So I can tell you exactly what the first one I played was.
Sure.
Pong.
That's a fair answer.
Now, it wasn't the arcade Pong. It was on a home Pong clone console called the Rally 4.
Ooh.
Which, it was a hand-me-down from my older brother. Or it was a gift, one of the two. I was young, I don't remember. And I remember we played a lot. It had, I think, Pong doubles, Quadra Pong, and Practice. Or maybe it was just demo. I have one of those units in my closet right now. I could go look, but I'm not going to.
Cool.
Only problem is one of the paddles doesn't work. Not that I really been able to play it with, but yeah, I'll get it fixed eventually. But yeah, that was the first. Yep, absolutely the first one for me.
I actually wonder off the top of my head how many people have tried to play Pong with themselves. That kind of sounds like a euphemism for masturbation, but I don't know. It's just a thought I had.
A really geeky one.
Yeah.
But think about it. There is the computer-controlled paddle. Unfortunately, this Rally 4 seems to be designed for 2 players only. There's no computer opponent.
So even back then, companies were trying to sell multiple games at once because of forced multiplayer. But that was something that became big in the 7th gen. Shut up now.
Consider this, though. Back then, it was a family activity.
That is true. Video games were actually marketed a lot more for being social matters back in the day, if, such a thing could be fathomed. That's not usually how I grew up playing them, but I respect that's what that era was going for.
Yeah, because what we would do is myself and Sharon and our brother, we would go ahead and play this Rally 4 console with my parents. Or, in case Sharon, our parents.
It's nice.
So we'd take turns, pass controllers around. We'd all challenge each other, that kind of thing. And that also continued when we got the Atari 2600, which was a present for my mother's birthday. Yeah,
very nice.
We didn't get it. She got it. I can't tell you how many times we played 2-player combat, either tanks or jets.
Sweet.
And my parents would go head-to-head in Canyon Bomber all the time.
That's nice.
But, yeah, so that was the really early stuff.
Yeah, I think you can only get earlier than that if you go back to Space War.
Yeah, pretty much. Question is, did that shape our tastes in gaming? I don't run the Pong homepage, so I would say probably not.
I wouldn't say it had a complete null. I wouldn't say it had a non-effect. I mean,
Oh, it
I
definitely had an
still,
effect, but it didn't shape my tastes.
yeah. I mean, like, it is, I'd say, maybe on the lower end of the totem pole, but I did grow to really appreciate the action platformer genre on the NES, consisting of games, of the mold of Castlevania, Ninja Gaiden, Vice Project Doom, Shatterhand, I guess Totally Rad, which is kind of like in the halfway between that and a run and gun, but
Yeah, I gotta address something real quick.
yeah, sure.
All right, Sharon, where were Ryan and I? Did we get sent to bed first, and you got to stay up and play Atari with Ma? I want answers.
Varying an old cunt. Yes, Snarv, I know that you are quite fond of Totally Rad. You are obsessed with what is his name? The Great Zebediah? The very anime-looking, goofy magician man who was completely not changed in graphics from the Japanese version to English, where Zebediah Pong, hey Pong, hey, what do you know? Full circle.
Yeah.
Whereas the protagonists Jake and Allison, as they're known as in the West, they looked a lot cutesier and more anime in the Japanese version, but in the West they were made more realistic looking, and they were given some really dumb like LA surfer lingo because it's totally rad, dude. The 90s, fuck yeah.
This is why I don't own Totally Rad, but I do have Magic John.
Yeah, the Japanese title is Magic John, which I'm sorry to be so bawdy, but I always thought it sounded like a dildo, like Steely Dan or something. Like,
I just originally saw it and figured magical toilet.
that's slightly more wholesome. I'm the fucking gutter mind here.
Oh, how strange. All right. So, yes. Sharon
The main character did become Keanu. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sharon has admitted that, yes, we were sent to bed. Well, she got to stay and play Atari with Ma.
Well, the truth is out forever now. Mm-hmm. Also, Rex, those are some damn good games to grow up on that you've mentioned. The SMS version, Double Dragon specifically, probably the most on-point home port, at least compared to the NES one that really changed things around. But,
Yeah, the Master System version Double Dragon was definitely a lot better.
yeah.
I mean, the NES one has its good points.
Yeah,
But
at least.
the Master System one is just more true to the arcade.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Jaren. No problem. I am aware of that. I mean, I kind of actually feel like, and this is incredibly stupid. I asked for Rob to grant me absolution for this, but I never actually ever owned a 2600, and sometimes it makes me wonder if I don't have enough retro cred because of it.
That's a good question. First of all, who is doling out this quote-unquote retro cred?
Self-imposed mostly. That's just like kind of looking glass worry that I have.
Have you played the games?
Well, yeah, I have played many 2600 games, don't get me wrong.
Can you discuss them? Do you have this kind of, well, anything after Atari was superior mindset? Can you still see value in 2600 games?
Yes, I can. In fact, I guess I could also talk about a really early game. I don't know if this was due to emulation early on that my brother knew how to run that before I did, or B, if it was like a 2600 like someone else's house, or see if it was a retro game compilation. But I do have fond early memories of the Atari 2600 game Fast Food, which is why I asked the weird purple mouth from that game to represent me in our retro console stream not too long ago.
Yep. Also, I gotta agree with Rex here. Tomcat and Space Shuttle were amazing.
Shit, I'm not sure if I played those, or I imagine they did arguably 3D better than the Tempest prototype did.
Yeah, that was The Tempest prototype was more not so much about the 3D, but just trying to replicate the vector graphics and do the smooth controls and all that.
You know what?
Either they could have improved it to the point where it had been a decent port, or and what just happened was the crash.
I'm gonna see if I can look up footage of this because I really can't envision it.
But Rex, you got a point there about Tomcat, because one of my favorite 7100 games is F-18 Hornet, and it does pretty much the exact same thing. You have to use every switch on the console.
Okay, yeah, this is not only very janky, but it kind of looks like your play field is like a pair of black and blue striped underwear or whatever. I don't know. It looks like a Speedo.
Yeah, I mean, they may have had time to improve it if everything hadn't crashed, but it did, and
yeah,
so that's my guess anyway.
Yeah, so, no, this looks like this looks like effort, but just effort.
That's okay. You can always look up Xevious for the 2600.
And I will.
That too was being ported, but that tragically was cut short.
Okay, this looks more valid. Shapes are more abstract, but
yeah,
at least it doesn't try to punch above its weight.
Yep.
Cool.
Still, they could have made something out of it, so I take back what I said about Tempest earlier. Well, I originally thought the prototype was scrapped because they couldn't pull it off. I'm starting to think more that it may have been a result of the crash.
Yeah, bad timing. Yeah.
So many games got canceled because of that, including a game that was recently released by Champ Games as a homebrew, Turbo.
Turbo-tastic! I'm sorry. I know that. I know.
But yeah, they released Turbo Arcade, and it's freaking amazing.
Sweet. Yeah, no, I remember that being a good. I forget was the original Sega?
Yeah.
Yeah, their affinity for 3D racing games was known even that far back. Mm-hmm. They'd only just improved their craft since then.
Wait. Everyone's incorrectly listing on eBay the 7800 version as the 2600 version? Wow.
Oh, that is dumb. That sucks.
Yeah. Okay, sirrah.
Yeah, pretty much.
But, it's funny what happened to Turbo, because it was originally supposed to be released by Coleco in 1983. You want some good irony? Development was halted because the programmer got into a car crash.
Oh, wow, that sucks.
And by the time he was well enough to go back to work, well, the market had crashed. So,
oh, that fucking blows. That is some terrible luck.
Now, he may have been put on the ColecoVision port of Turbo. Yeah, Prime, you got a point there about Turbo.
Oh, yeah.
Who had racing games? Well, you have overhead racing games, and you have, ones where you're looking behind the car.
Yeah, I admit I'm not huge on racing games in general, but I do like several of the earlier and more arcadey ones.
There's only 3 racing games worth mentioning here. Outrun F-Zero, and Son of Kong.
I'm sorry, the sound screwed up on my end. What was that one?
I was doing a bit on Futurama there, where I said Son of Kong.
Oh, okay.
But no.
Well, that is unfortunately not a racing game, although now I'm envisioning a racing game where you play as a character rolling on a barrel.
The only real monsters. Thank you, Prime.
That's right.
Yeah, Dracula,
right.
Blackula, and Son of Kong.
That was it. Right.
But in all seriousness, Outrun F-Zero and Wipeout XL.
Yeah, Wipeout's a series I need to get more into. If that's the specific one you recommend, I'll certainly give it a shot.
XL's the best out of the first 3.
Good suggestion.
What system had the 3D racing games? A lot of them did.
Yeah, quite a few. They were especially big draws in the arcade, and even still are for arcades nowadays. Like, you might see a Daytona USA system, which is also a fun one, albeit one that I really suck at. I've never even beaten the purported easy course on Daytona. You have to get good at drifting, and no, it's like how I can't fucking combo most fighting games. But
Prime, I remember that avatar. That was great. You're not a true fan if you don't spell it Wipeout. I thought you were not supposed to capitalize the W.
Oh. I realized recently that I never really capitalized the C in RoboCop. Some fucking fan I am.
Oh, well. Que sera, you live, you learn. Long live rock.
Anyway, and so forth. I like this loose and formal style we have here, but I guess we should try and move on to our next subject.
Well, Sharon says here, I'm talking home systems.
Home systems back in the day.
Well, it depends. How far back do you want to go?
That is a good question. I really feel like that racing games were present in the third generation, but they weren't really like front and center. At least 3D racing games, obviously.
I like
didn't.
The 2600 had a few. I mean, there was their pole position. There was Activision's Enduro, which pretty much just mops the floor with pole position.
Yeah.
And I think maybe one or two others. But as far as what shaped my taste when it came to gaming, I would have to say it was... I could trace it back to one game. Pitfall 2 Lost Caverns. That was the first time I had ever played a game where it was more than just rack up the points, shoot the aliens, and move on. Or gobble the dots, rack up the points, and so on and so forth. Because, that's basically all it was. Space Invaders and Pac-Man clones.
Yeah.
With the occasional bit of innovation. But Pitfall 2 was an actual quest with an ending. Unless you're playing the 5200 version or the Atari 800 version where it had that extra thing I could never complete without cheating.
The Lost Levels.
Pretty much. They call it the Adventurers Edition.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So that Pitfall 2 was kind of the catalyst for me. That was what made me more prepared to accept what the NES and the Master System were offering later on.
Yeah, and that turned out to be just the right level of complexity for you. Is that accurate to say, or is...
Run I don't mean that... jump.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you do like Metroid, though.
Well, Metroid's good.
Yeah.
E.T. Now, I played that, too, back in the day. And it was a decent game. I'm
going to say, yeah, I think the hatred on E.T. was kind of overblown back then. Maybe the hit detection for falling into the pits was kind of janky, but once you knew what you were doing, it was actually fairly cromulent.
Yeah, and I had a chance to speak to Howard Scott Warshaw about that. So, yeah, they were much worse on the 2600. Just look at Snake.
Coconuts!
Coconuts even wasn't that bad compared to Snake.
Snick.
Yeah. Actually, nearly anything by Data Age was miles worse than the other stuff.
Data H? Is this some sort of terrible Data East ripoff?
No. Data Age.
Oh, Age.
Like the age of data.
Pretentious son.
Prime, it pains me to admit it, but I'm kind of with you there.
I am totally with you. I still don't know what the fuck I'm doing in Raiders.
Even I don't know.
And you've read the manual.
I own 2 copies of the manual.
Yeah, exactly. Rex says, Raiders are the lost instruction book, so you can never figure it out. Yeah, pretty fucking much.
Even with the instruction manual, it's hard to figure out.
Side tangent on that, you've probably told me already, but were there any other games on the 2600 where 2 controllers at once was mandatory?
Mandatory? Not that I recall.
That was the only one.
Yeah, well, actually, let me check something here. And yes, Snarb, it kind of was. I don't remember when Robotron came out in arcades off the top of my head. Let me see
Robotron.
something here.
Immortal fucking game that is. I'd say of the early Williams games, Robotron's my favorite. It's just like the purest essence of gaming in the most distilled, purest form that it can get.
Okay. Believe it or not, that has been ported to the 2600 now.
Nice. Very nice.
So let me see. Okay. I will look up games that use both joysticks. Okay, here we go. I'm sorry, there are 4 games. Got Raiders of the Lost Ark. There's Riddle of the Sphinx.
Oh, yeah, right. I forgot that was double stick.
Stargate's
That's
another one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because there's not enough controls to set up your smart bombs and whatnot. So, and
Now, oh, sorry.
the other one is Radar Lock.
Not sure I know that one.
That's basically Afterburner on the 2600.
Now, just to get the record straight, this is a Stargate, not a Firegate, is it?
Yes, it is in fact a Stargate.
Okay, sorry.
AKA,
I just thought of,
otherwise known as a Defender 2.
I just thought of that bit from Space Kataz from ATHF for some weird reason. I don't fucking know why.
I haven't seen that in so long.
Yeah, Aqua Teen's just kind of beyond me now.
Oh, nice, Rex.
But yes.
Let's see. Anyway, so since we covered the 2600 in depth the last stream we did, let's move on a little bit.
Yeah, we don't want to retread our steps too terribly much.
Except that we are going to retread our steps now.
Oh, well,
Except
fuck.
we're going back to a time before Dyer and Betty existed.
Oh, really now?
Yes, something Snarb should remember quite well.
Yes.
Rental memories.
Yes. That is correct, yes.
Mm-hmm.
A thing we did that I'm not sure many other people know that we did.
Yep. I don't know. Rental access memories.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, Snarb, did you ever post that video elsewhere? Like, for the public to view, or... We'll wait and see what he says.
Generic elevator.
Nope, just on his channel.
Music. Okay.
Let's see. Cool, it's still there.
Rad.
You know, Rex, I was the same way with Magic Sword in the arcade. I put enough quarters into that I could have bought the Super NES port.
Magic Sword.
Oh, it's an archive.
Oh.
Archive, too. Cool.
Nice.
Now, I've heard stories that you're able to rent Atari stuff back in the day, but I never saw it personally. When I first got introduced to renting video games, it was the NES. And there were some rental stores up in Connecticut where I grew up that it seems like they just kind of came and went. There was one, most of them were video stores too. And in fact, one of them, I remember distinctly being the first place I ever saw the Goonies 2.
Very nice.
Remember I picked it up and I was like, what Goonies 2? What is this? What is this?
Oh, you don't
There's
remember
no movie?
You don't remember the sequel where Sean Astin makes out with a mermaid?
No, I missed that completely.
Good old Annie, one of the least explicable plot devices ever.
Now, it may have even been in the same video store after they remodeled a little bit, but that was the first place I ever laid eyes on Castlevania and Castlevania 2.
Very nice.
And I remember picking up the boxes, or both of them, turning them over. I was intrigued by the cover artwork. Looked them over, looked at the back, and just kind of went, man, these look stupid. Put them down. Walked away.
Congrats.
On the flip side of that, after we moved to Florida, I remember actually seeing the boxes for the first 2 Ikari Warriors games. And thinking, oh, that looks cool.
Yeah, you fool.
I never rented them though, so I didn't get to find this
Good,
out until later.
good.
Okay,
Well,
Rex, you got me intrigued. What is a permastruct case?
Yeah. Oh, what is up with that? Sorry, just oh no.
Yes,
Yeah,
NES Ikari
unfortunately,
Warriors.
a game that I actually grew up with, and I don't know if this is somewhat relevant, but I might have explained in the prior stream that much of my brother's and henceforth eventually my game collection were gotten from an old rental shop by the name of Corner Video that the building's still there, but obviously since rentals pretty much aren't a thing at all anymore, it is long gone. It is probably gone by like early 2000s, maybe even before that. But it was a neat little shop, and like they sold out their NES inventory to make room for 16-bit games, and that is, and henceforth, my brother got a very good deal on inexpensive NES games that they were selling off, and it was a wide cornucopia of quality that they offered from there. One of those games was an NES Ikari Warriors, so
Ouch.
I grew up with that piece of fuck, and like I have even less compunctions of beating that one without cheating than I do Cobra Triangle. Although, ironically, unlike Cobra Triangle, I did at least, for some fucking reason, get to the end of it at least once. But I was using Game Genie with an infinite lives code, so that must have just been a fucking I didn't know what to do better afternoon or whatever. It's just, why? Jesus.
Who knows? You don't know. Hey, Hans
I
here.
certainly don't. Hey, Han. Sorry. But yeah, we did actually get some quality games from there. That's where we got Contra. That's where we got Double Dragon 2, but not the first, oddly. That's where we got Castlevania 2 and 3, but also not the first, oddly. Of course, I did make up for this later, but like I said, huge cornucopia of stuff. I do actually remember a game that we rented from there that I'm not sure if we actually bought from there, was the unlikely American NES title. Rob, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this one, but Dudes with Attitude.
Oh yes, I am familiar with that. It was
Honestly,
it was one of the unlicensed games, if I remember correctly.
yes, it was. And honestly, it's not a bad one in my opinion. I mean, it's pretty chintzy on the graphics, but the gameplay's decent once you know what you're doing. A pretty not bad action puzzler, in my opinion. You could do worse for this system.
Okay.
I also remember that they made a licensed Trolls game that basically played the exact same as that Trolls on Treasure Island, I think it was called.
Yeah, I remember reading something about that, but I never played it.
Yeah.
Let's catch up with the chat here real quick. So that's
Sure.
a permastruct thing, huh? An adhesive manual for the game that was adhered to the inside of the case. Interesting. And Rex, you actually ROM hacked Ikari Warriors?
Interesting. The worst. All I did was make the ending text, but can't polish a turd too much, can you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the title screen is kind of horrifying with the smiley face patch just looming over everything with his gaping maw of the abyss.
But now, speaking of video stores, yes, Sharon has brought up one I plan to talk about, which was Video Plus.
Oh, nice.
That place, the building is still there. It's an air conditioning place now. But
Dang.
at one
Oh,
point,
I forgot to.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I forgot to mention that that former rental place is now, I believe, a hardware store and or auto goods store.
That's
So,
an improvement.
could be a worse thing, I'm sure.
Yeah, true. But let's see. Video Plus rented a little bit of everything. They had a ton of movies. I mean, they had obscure horror flicks. They had obscure, like, TV shows from the 80s, Like, they had Transor Z on video, for crying out loud.
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember Corner Video also had a lot of films, several of which were horror, including this one I vividly recall, apparently named Dr. Gore, that had a really terribly dismembered corpse on the cover that had to be censored over. But I don't know if this is some Mandela effect bullshit, because I can't find a Dr. Gore when I put this into search engines now. So I don't know if it was just like some local horror film that someone tried to license there, or if I'm misremembering the title, or if this is something from like a nightmare that I don't know. It's fucking weird.
And then you pop the tape in, and it's actually that short video about Michigan.
Oh, possibly in Michigan. That one that our friend Devil posted.
Yeah. I remember.
Yes.
That's an interesting one.
It is, yeah. Cecilia Condit's actually a pretty interesting filmmaker. I need to look into more of her stuff.
But I remember looking through the horror stuff all the time. And I remember seeing one cover in particular that intrigued me.
Yeah.
And there was basically just a skull on the cover. Except that in the eye socket of the skull was an actual eyeball. The title? Evil Dead 2.
There we go.
Dawn. Yeah.
That's the good stuff.
Yes, it was. But they also had a little porno room.
Oh, yeah. I forget if Corner actually had one of those, but
oh, they did with swinging doors and everything.
Oh no! Wait. What do you? Hey, wait. Fuck. Hey, I finally found it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Dr. Gore from 1985. Jeffrey C. Hoag. Yes, that was the one. Yeah, that had to be it.
Huh.
Let me see. Oh, it was a Herschel Gordon Lewis film. Okay, that tracks. That tracks, yeah. That definitely sounds like the kind of schlock he'd be into.
I have no idea who that is.
You don't? Really?
Yeah, no clue.
Herschel Gordon. Okay, well, shit. He was kind of like the what do you say, the Lloyd Kaufman of his time, if that makes sense.
Yes, that does make sense.
Yeah, schlock of that angle.
Oh. But yeah, as far as Video Plus, when they were at their height, not only did they rent NES, Genesis, Super NES, TurboGrafx 16, and even they closed down in the first couple of years PlayStation was out, so they were actually carrying early PlayStation stuff too. But not only that, in the back, they renovated and they put in a small arcade. I would go down there every chance I got just to play RoboCop.
Nice. Very. Actually, you know what? Corner, I believe, did also have a small arcade for a while itself. The only game I can remember being in there, though, was Caveman Ninja, aka Joe and Mac. I genuinely don't remember any of the others. Or I rented Joe and Mac from there. Joe and Mac is tied to the history of Corner Video. That's all I can remember exactly.
Well, I remember that in Video Plus, they also had 720. They had
the skateboard game.
They had a couple pinball games back there.
Oh,
they had the sit-down version of Thunderblade.
Cool.
And there were at least one or two others I can't recall off the top of my head. I think Shinobi was one of them.
Nice.
So, yeah. And, well, I don't remember this at all, but Sharon apparently had borrowed Mario 3 after Ryan had rented it, fell asleep, didn't play it, had her door locked, couldn't get it, and it was late going back.
Damn.
Yeah. That was... Well. I remember renting that from them. And had it over the weekend. There was no save, so it left the NES on overnight. And I remember being so psyched about it when it came. I was like, yeah, Mario 3, this is going to be awesome. This is going to be awesome. And by the time I returned, I was like, I'm probably not even going to rent that again.
Oh, no. You mean the world lied to you?
Hey, it's not a bad game, but...
It's not. No.
Just, it was a sign of things to come.
It's just not our favorite. We've been over this before. Anyone wants to It's like, send it to, insert address of Wrigley Field here, however that old gag went. Also, Prime, the one I linked to had the most legit VHS Lewis flick you've ever seen. Let me know which one. I'm not sure if I've actually seen any of his films. I might have I don't know if it was an MST3K thing or a Riff Tracks thing, but something of that. Ooh, Jumping Flash 2. Great
Jeez.
game. Day after end. You didn't have well, to be fair, the Jumping Flashes aren't super long, so I could see that happening, but, yeah, that's, like, I know that, this was a terrible practice, but it is rumored that some unscrupulous game makers deliberately made their games really fucking hard because they were aware the rental market was a thing and they didn't want to lose out on, the rental sales that, renting companies like Blockbuster and Hollywood or whatever would have mined away from their direct game sales. So they apparently made games really, really fucking hard so that they couldn't easily be beaten in a weekend. So even if you rented them, you probably weren't going to get them taken care of anytime soon. And I'm like, Rob, what do you think of that practice?
I think it's pretty shitty.
I think so too. Fuck you, Ed Nunziata. Fuck, Echo is overrated. I don't. I think he actually admitted that, so I can blame him for that.
Yeah.
So, and I will too. Bastard.
Now, I will say that when Blockbuster finally moved into the neighborhood, that's when things started to go downhill. First thing,
Yeah.
I tell you, the first thing they did where I lived, there was another independent film rental store called 16,000 Videos. And they bought them out. Not before I was able to buy some of the stuff they were liquidating, though.
Well, that's an upside at least.
And of course, when Blockbuster bought them out, they did away with their porn section too.
It's literally fucking, Dr. Cocteau's L.A. and Demolition Man.
Pretty much. Funny, I just wanted to call it San Dimas. It's like, no, wait, that's Bill and Ted.
But, yeah, I guess the advent of larger chains were probably why Corner closed its doors.
Yeah.
There was Blockbuster one way and Hollywood Video the other. I mostly did whatever rentals at Hollywood from that point on. I didn't even think of the tragic implications of big companies doing that like that. But then these companies got outmoded themselves for better or worse, and I can't even say that's karma. That still makes me sad to an extent. I don't know why.
Well, I know that Blockbuster didn't buy out Video Plus, but they did run them out of business.
Yeah. Not like the oil barons of old, or rail barons, or tycoons, or, assholes in white mustaches and top hats. That's just kind of the sort of image I have.
Yeah, pretty much.
But, yeah.
But when Video Plus was liquidating their stuff, I cleaned up. Every week when I got paid, I'd go in there and come out with at least 5 or 6 games.
Very nice.
Best one I ever got there, though, was Tengen Tetris Complete in Box for $6.
Let me guess, you lost that in the Great Crash.
No, I actually lost it long before that, because what I did was immediately took it down to the video game dungeon in Daytona and traded it in for like $80 in store credit.
Well, 80's not bad for its time, I guess.
Yeah. It's okay, though. At the time, Tetris wasn't exactly a thing that I was overly interested in. I liked it, but not enough to say, hey, I need to keep it. Besides, it would have gone in the Great Crash if that had been the case.
You know what? Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. But, I did get to buy some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
And then when Blockbuster started getting rid of some of their older stuff, cleaned up a little bit there, too. Now, this I wish I still had, but this went in the crash. Sharon, there was only one 16,000 video that I recall, and that was the one in Orange City next to the Arby's. Yeah, I hear that, Rex.
Don't get us. Our last Random Access Memories was partially about how the aftermarket fucking sucks monkey ass, and I hate it. And will this bubble fucking burst already? Even if it means every fucking thing we own has to get bit rot for it to fucking collapse. God damn it.
I'm not overly worried about it. I will say though that the biggest thing I bought at Blockbuster by today's standards was Contraforce. Complete, $10.
Contra Wars. I'm sorry that my ears faded out a bit.
Contraforce.
Oh, Force.
Yeah, you know,
The
like
not very great one.
Archound.
Yeah, Archound.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry. The Dreamcast was kind of on. As much as I like the Dreamcast, it was admittedly a little bit of a shoddily made system. I really hate to admit that, but
No,
yeah, that was definitely the first console I had that was noticeably having a lot of fucking trouble reading discs, and I had to attempt that for like a dozen attempts on end for it to finally get through. So.
Yeah. But no, Sharon, there were no other locations for 16,000 videos. That's it. Just the one.
Wait, the label is actually how the disc is. What?
Well,
Fuck.
makes sense, actually, when you think about it.
Huh. I'll
So,
be shitted.
I have packed up the majority of my disc-based stuff. And I just run those off of, you know, like my PlayStation Classic and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and eventually Blockbuster went the way of the dodo too. So, that's what they
Except
get
for
being,
one, apparently.
Well, that's what they get for being evil.
Okay, so you do see it as report. You saw what goes around, etc. The human centipede of karma.
In
As
fact, I had just remarked to Betty today when we were up at the local shopping center. I saw the GameStop that's still there. And I just said to her, "Yeah, can't wait to see GameStop go the way of Blockbuster."
Yeah, no, I've heard a lot of I've heard its business decisions have just been really not good at all. Like, probably the most you heard about them was that really fucking stupid, stock thing that a few douchebags got rich off of.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is likely headed for the floor, and that is probably where it deserves to be. But
Yeah.
yeah, most actual retail game shops, they're not. They still do kind of exist like arcades, but it is, I think, mostly something that you really need to be passionate about. You're not going to get rich by digging a ditch in that profession. So
Exactly. But yeah, that kind of covers our rental experience in a nutshell. Unless you have anything else to add.
I remember renting and beating Mystical Ninja starring Goemon in one week, and that was really fun.
Well, that's cool. And yes, Prime, you're in the right place for that. And I will say one thing I remember about Video Plus is when they were renting out Genesis games. Back when, in the pre-Sonic era. Hey, man, do I miss that era.
Yeah, I know you do.
You're darn right I do. What would happen is Braunley would rent a new game every weekend, and it didn't matter what game it was. He would finish it.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen him go through stuff like Gaiaris and what else was it he played through? Target Earth, even though he bought that one. That's a game that EGM famously rated as being impossible.
They're not too far off. I was actually questioning recently whether I should just sack up and give that one a more earnest shot, or if I should, just accept my limitations and realize I'll probably need save states to ever beat it. So.
Yeah, hey, hon, that's true. I can't argue with that, even though my dislike of the Beatles is legendary.
Oh, don't I know it?
But Snarb, you have a definite point there. I when I got my PlayStation modded, my original PlayStation, which I no longer have, I got it modded through a company whose ad I found in the back of one of those magazines, and they had a bunch of those blurry screenshots, of games that they were carrying. And I had to mail the system to them, and my dad paid for it with his credit card because I didn't have a credit card at the time. And when I got it back a few days later, it had been completely modded and came with copies of Gradius Gaiden and the Salamander Deluxe Pack.
Cool.
And I remember distinctly seeing one of those screenshots of the Salamander Deluxe Pack. It was a screenshot from Salamander 2 on the first stage where the like those giant worm-looking things are flying through the air.
Hmm.
You know the ones I'm talking about.
Mm.
You kind of can't miss them. They're gigantic.
I'm sorry. Which game? I had a brain fart.
Salamander 2.
It has been. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Right. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Been a while since I played that one.
Sharon, you mentioned Flea World. Are you talking about Video Plus? Because they did open up a little shop there for a while, as I recall.
Prime, do you recall specifically 3 bad horror movies before you chanced upon Reanimator? I'm curious now. I just want to discuss horror movies tonight. I'm sorry.
That is not on point for this channel, Mike.
Not yet, no.
Do it on your own time.
Okay, yes, sir. Drop and give you 10 or whatever.
Yeah, well, the worst part about some of these games where you rent the stinkers, the worst part was actually when you bought the stinkers.
Yeah, I'm sure you might have a thing or two to say about that.
Well, specifically in the Genesis era, I remember seeing that Blaster Master 2 was coming out for the Genesis.
Ooh.
And I was hyped up for that because I loved the original. It's like, oh, this is going to be great. This is going to be great. This is not great. This is bad. What happened? Oh my God.
Hope you saved their seat.
I did. And I returned it.
Damn Skippy.
Yeah, I remember. I remember too, as we're going to Bromley's car, right, to go back up to the game store, and I actually made a motion like, "Fuck this game," and I was just making like I was throwing it, but it actually slipped out of my hands and landed in the sand. So I'm like trying to blow sand out of the cracks and stuff. Yeah, they took it back. So yes, Snarb, that was very, very wise decision, even if the name was stupid. Thunder Force 4, damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was a little suspicious. It's like, wait, why are these screenshots back here? And I was like, oh God, what have I bought? Wasted $50 on this piece of shit. And another one, too, from just a little later, was when I got my first PlayStation. And I distinctly remember when I went to the store to buy it originally, bought the PlayStation, a memory card, and Symphony of the Night. Because I bought it the day that Symphony was released.
Nice.
However, I'd kind of prepared myself in advance and bought a PlayStation game previously. Now, this doesn't include my import copy of Symphony that I bought months prior, which I couldn't play. But damn, I had that art book and that soundtrack CD, and it was just like, okay, this will tide me over. No, I'd bought Contra Legacy of War.
Congratulations.
Oh, I found out exactly how stupid that was when I fired it up. Because,
yeah,
I'm playing Symphony, I'm enjoying myself, and finally I died or whatever, and it's like, yeah, I'll try Contra now. PlayStation, this has got to be good, right? No, just no. It was crap. So terrible a game. I did not enjoy it. And the fact they actually ported it to the Saturn, too, that just kind of blew my mind.
I forgot that it got a Saturn port. What the fucking fuck?
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, let's say we go ahead and move on to a different subject now. Now, a lot of this is stuff Mike suggested, so I'm going to roll with it. Let's start with games that scared you.
Yeah. Because I was actually kind of a bit of a sort of wussy butterball scaredy cat back then, and I partially am still now, but, it was even worse as a kid. I guess just primal fears of things that seemed creepy, and I didn't know how to process them. I guess I should start since I suggested this, but
Before you do, Snarb, is that the giant organic boss that you're talking about?
Oh,
The,
yeah,
the
yeah.
giant head with the hands.
I want to say it was called the Hydra, but yeah, that giant skeletal horror blob looks a little bit like a more skeletal form of that thing that Tetsuo turned into in Akira.
I don't know. It reminded me of a Pusset
Oh,
illustration.
a reference to that giant thing in Nausicaa, right? That tracks. That
Yeah,
tracks.
it does track, actually. I never even considered that.
Yeah, I can totally see that, though.
I remember seeing that for the first time going, holy shit, that's awesome.
It is, yes.
Mm-hmm. But, okay, Mike, go ahead.
All right, well, if any of you have read memoirs and my guest stories on there, I did already go into this, but I was really fucking creeped out by Mabu, the villain of Rolling Thunder. That, like, green alien guy with the pointy bald head and ears and green skin, and I don't know why. Something about losing the game and then just having his completely dead white eyes up staring out in the screen and going I don't know why that just struck a primal chord of fear in like my 6-year-old brain, but it just horrified me so badly that whenever I played the game I just really nervously rush to hit the power button before he would fucking, just fucking shit me out all over again. And actually, I even wonder why I still continued to play the game and I didn't just abandon it entirely because I found Mapu so traumatizing. It's fucking stupid, but he even permutated into my dreams to the extent, and yes, Prime, hey, you remember. Thank you, man. Yeah, he even got bad enough to the point that he became a recurring horror element in my young nightmares back then somehow, where I couldn't even exactly remember how he looked, so it's like, somehow in my nightmares he had like, very, nasty, like, troll-like black hair and jagged teeth, and his laugh was even, like, his flesh was made out of slime or whatever, and, like, He'd be the monster at the end, like a not nice version of that one Grover book. It's more like that Anthrax song of the same name. I just thought at a point, this is fucking ridiculous. I need to face my fear. And I remember, like, when I put the game on, because he would pop up also in the tracked screen on the game if you let it run for too long. Like, I remember distinctly that I turned the game on, but then, like, I just stood to the side of my TV and without looking at it, and I just wanted to hear that fucking croaky dead frog laugh that he did again. And then I heard it and I was like, okay, that's weird, but I don't remember why this scared me so much. And then, like, I took the other part of it. I think what I did, and this is really stupid, to actually see him, I, like, saw him in a reflection at first. It's like, I don't know. Did I think he was gonna, like, fucking curse me if he looked directly at me or whatever? Like, this is just such a stupid little witch's pie Tom Sawyer fucking bullshit that I did. But, yeah, I took it one piece at a time. First the audio, and then the visual. I'm like, okay, he looks creepy, but he doesn't look like nearly as like, troll about to bite my head off terrifying as he did in my dreams. And I put the two together, I'm like, okay, he's weird, but I guess I'm not going to have nightmares about him anymore. And I didn't. And
Well, there
I'm
you
like,
go.
that was just. I mean, it looks a little bit creepier even in the arcade version, but I mean, nowadays though, he's not so much as disturbing about Rolling Thunder as like Layla getting stripped and tortured is. That's really fucked up for that game.
So,
Not to mention it's incredibly brutal difficulty on top of that, but yeah.
well, that's the scariest part of the game.
And
Now, Heihan mentioned Alien vs. Predator for the Jag.
ooh, yeah, no, I can see that. The fucking face huggers. That was actually another thing that gave me the creeps was the proto. Actually, Rob, if you had a tangent to go on that.
No, I was just saying that's
Oh, Prime, you weren't a big fan of Skinamarink? You should post on on our board at some point, because I actually made a tangent recently about why I find modern horror not so great, and I'd like to hear you weigh in on that at some point. But I digress. Yeah, the Protozoid Slimers from Duke Nukem 3D did the same thing as a similar thing as the face huggers in Alien vs. Predator, where they're just like these green slimes with big jagged mouths that crept up right the fuck point blank in front, obscuring your vision. And that did creep me out quite a bit as a kid also, but it was good motivation for me to kill those things before they got anywhere near close to me. Also, I probably shouldn't have been playing Duke Nukem 3D that young, but it was what it was.
Didn't you also find Jakio creepy?
Yeah, Jackio, or Jackios, I think that's a bad...
Guardia de Mew.
Yeah, whatever. That is a fucking weird name. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a bad romanization of Jackie-O, which is like the king of demons or whatever.
Makes sense.
If I had to guess, but... yeah, Jackie Onassis was the villain of one of my childhood favorites, Ninja Gaiden, which is also actually one that I have very, very early memories of playing and liking, and of course, not getting too far into it, I'm pretty sure that the fucking Eagles in Stage 3 were the major hold-up point for me, as they were everyone, but... yeah, the villain is this very fruity wizard man who dresses in very weird robes, and like, I don't know if he's like just dressing up as a devil, if he really is one. It's kind of ambiguous, but he's a big weirdo who wears like alien dealy bobbers or whatever. I'm describing it very kind of casually. Rob has always thought he looked goofy, and
he does look goofy.
From a distance, yeah, no, he does. But then at the end of the cutscene where you meet him and then he kidnaps Irene and he causes Ryu to fall into a trapdoor, which, good job, Ryu. Your ninja senses sure didn't fucking see that one coming, you idiot. It cuts to this very abrupt close-up of Jackie-O as he does an evil laugh, and it's like it's all rendered in like a pink light. He has very manic-looking eyes and like evil... like fangs or what. He looks like some sort of vampire about to bite you. And I don't know, just this sudden cut just kind of fucking gave me the willies as a youngin'. Maybe not as badly as Mabu. I don't think he on in my dreams, but I was like, no, this is kind of ugh. Yeesh, I don't like this. And then late in the game, he actually moves his mouth, screaming, "You both will die!" And I'm like, "Oh, geez, oh Jesus!" And I don't know. That's kind of got on my nerves back then. Also, there's actually this also really legitimately creepy face, which is sort of like a very distorted. I think it's supposed to be like a sort of Oni mask or whatever, but the quote unquote masked devil that you fight before Jackie-O, you get a pretty good close up of that, and that's also pretty freaky looking in my opinion.
All right, let me clarify something here for you, Mike.
Yeah,
in the original game, I found Jackie-O to be pretty goofy looking. When he reappears in 2, he actually looks pretty cool.
He does, yeah. He actually looks pretty fearsome there, also. But I don't know, he looks more realistic somehow, and I wasn't as deathly scared of things in general by the time I got to play 2, but yeah, I think he looks neat and also suitably intimidating.
To be completely
Yeah,
honest, my favorite boss from the Gaiden series is probably Ashtar.
Ashtar looks really legitimately cool. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
in retrospect, I kind of wish he had remained the big bad instead of the game pulling a very, very relatively early version of what I think is now colloquially called the hijacked by Ganon trope.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, a lot of games did that in the 90s, and I think I think even in the 2000s, where it's like some sort of like really long running shonen anime where like they try to introduce a new villain, but then he just kind of eats shit in the ratings. So they're like, "Oh ho, this very popular villain, it was behind it all along, and he faked his death or whatever." And
Oh, heck, look at Mr. X in Mega Man 6.
Actually, Wily did that 3 fucking games in a row. Bro, it's kind of hilarious. It's like in 4, he fought the
Dr.
scientist.
Cossack.
Yeah, Dr. Cossack, yeah. And then in 5, you remember who that was? Who it probably was?
Not off the top of my head.
Oh, he framed Proto Man for the deed. He had one of
yeah.
his fake robots imitate Proto Man, and then that was really popular in the Mega Man series. I forget how often did Castlevania do that. I think most games made it clear that Drac was the villain for the most part, but
Yeah,
I know
pretty
like a
much.
few. I think some like of the later games were like Drac's dead, and like this apparently new vampire takes over, but no, then he gets killed, and then
Well, the only Castlevania I can think of offhand where you never actually fight Dracula would be Lament of Innocence.
Lament of Innocence.
With our.
And before, what kind of fucking name for a vampire is Walter? I know you're thinking it.
I am thinking it.
Walter Bernhard.
But the fact
God,
that.
what a clown.
Yeah. But the fact that Death was actually the last boss, that was unexpected and welcome.
I actually thought that that was really cool after how many years would it have been? 1896, 96. Like more than 15 years of being Drac's servant. I thought it was a pretty cool tribute to have him as the final boss for once. So
I could sum it up with something that Jonathan Frakes said in that Where No Fan Has Gone Before episode of Futurama. Yes! Front row!
I love so many parts of that episode, but that one might be my favorite bit. I don't know. No, I don't know. There's so many. There's too many. You could even say.
But anyway, as far as stuff that scared me, honestly, there's only one game that ever actually kind of unnerved me. Mm-hmm. Now, I'd had the occasional jump scare from a game before, but I don't really count that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's meant to do that. It's a cheat.
It's like, the first time you're playing Resident Evil and you get to that one hallway and it's totally
the
silent.
dogs.
The dogs jump through and it's like, oh shit. Or when you actually try and open the front doors to the mansion again.
Oops. Yep. Having one I'm pretty sure is canophobia myself nowadays. I'd almost be a little scared to revisit that, but I do love the original Resident Evil very much, so I think I can get over it.
But yeah, jump scares, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But no. Silent Hill was one that did it to me.
That is a really fucking legitimate answer. I don't think anyone's going to argue that one.
Well, it's the part in particular that did it, and it didn't help that I was playing it around 3 a.m. in my room in the dark. Because I'm exploring the school, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all I can see is just what my flashlight can see. And then I heard the squeak. And it's like, well, what was that? So I'm turning Harry around. It's like, okay, what was that? And then just the barest edge of the shadow kind of crosses the outermost fringe of my flashlight beam. And it's like, what was that? And finally, I got a good look at it. And it was like the ghost of a child and it was making that noise. It didn't do anything. Didn't try and kill me. Just ran around squeaking. And I was just like, I think I'm done for the night. Oh, the Baby Night Valley.
Great fucking way to introduce the game, though, I gotta say.
I'll say.
Yeah, those fuckers also unnerve me as well. It's like, for one thing, is it like a dead child, or is it just a childlike thing, or is it even a corporeal entity, or is it like the will of the dark world or whatever, just trying to psych you? It's not explained, and it's inexplicable, and it is a lot more disturbing because of it.
Exactly, which is why she's like, yeah, save game, turn off, bedtime now.
Yeah, I believe those things are called larval stalkers officially.
Really? I did not know that.
And also, if I remember correctly, I think those things were originally supposed to actually be corporeal, but somebody thought that a very explicitly childlike thing existing like that was maybe a little bit too far for the censor, so that's why they made them more of a ghostly outline thing.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, I think makes it more memorable in a way, so...
I could agree with that.
There is definitely at least something in Silent Hill that will absolutely get you. In my case, it was the very masterfully executed double fake out of the cat scare that is in that game in the school, if you remember that bit.
Vaguely, but I do.
Yeah, as I recall, you're in the quote-unquote light world. I'm not sure if it's really called that, but, for lack of a better term. There is there's a rumbling locker in the school in the light world, and you go to open it, and cliche of all cliches, a cat jumps out of it. Although off-screen, you hear a yowl and a very distressing squish sound, but... you never see the cat again. That's a very disturbing implication. Also, oh Jesus, Darkseid, Snarf, get out with that. I'm not describing Darkseid right now. Maybe in an adventures game stream. No, wait, we already had one of those, did we? Or is that an idea that we were going to have at some point?
I think that's one that's still in the works.
Okay, gotcha. But then you return to that same locker room in the dark world, and once again, something is rumbling in the locker that the cat was, but it's like a lot more blatantly bloody and red stuff, and you're like, oh, nothing good can come with this. And then it opens up, and there's absolutely nothing in it, which, okay, that's not good. And then as you walk on your way out, a fucking wrapped up corpse just fucking dead ass falls out of a large locker in the room, and I'm not gonna lie, that fucking got me. Very masterfully. It sounds cheesy, but really as it works in the atmosphere, it was actually very masterfully done. I actually had to applaud Team Silent for that one. You got me, you sons of bastards. It's pretty great.
Yeah. So yeah.
Hill was a fucking awesome game, and it had at least 2 great sequels, and then it just, yeah. Okay, well, some people like 4, but I never got around to playing that one yet, so I couldn't really tell you. Anyway, yeah.
So, let's move along here. Yeah, here's another one you suggested.
Yeah?
Games that made you cry.
This one might be a little more serious in my end, but yeah.
I want to go ahead and lead off with this.
Go ahead.
I remember distinctly the first game that really ever made me cry. I remember I'd bought it. I took it home. Started playing it. Realized it was utter garbage. I just spent $50 on this turn. What the tears just came. I could have bought a good game, and I bought fucking Back to the Future for the NES. What the...
Oh, what a tragedy, sir. How terrible.
Indeed. Very, very much a tragedy.
What a truly moving, what do you call it, narrative of expectations and loss.
Tears of rage, and immediately traded that one to somebody I knew who actually wanted it for some reason. I got a copy of Robo Warrior out of the deal, which I think I came out on top.
Yeah, no, not a terrible game. I actually quite like that one.
Hmm. So, yeah, I didn't really have the similar experience with Blaster Master 2 or Contra Legacy of War. That was more like, ah, crap, you know? But that said, no game has ever actually made me cry. No game has moved me that way. Never got me right here, you know? Closest I think I ever got would have been when, let's see, spoiler alert for a, 30-year-old game. When Nay died in Phantasy Star 2.
That is actually, I think, a valid thing to bring up, and that was really shocking and tragic for the time.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, I liked her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, beat that, Squaresoft jazz to the punch like, what, 7 years early?
I actually do have a somewhat relevant Final Fantasy VII thing to relate on this subject, and actually kind of in tandem with what Snarb just said. But if you had anything else to say about Nay, I don't want to override that.
Yeah, it was just kind of a sad moment. It was like, yeah, I really liked her. Hey, what do you mean I can't revive her?
Phantasy Star 2 is actually one of the most depressing RPGs ever made. Like, fucking nothing really goes your way in the end when you think about it, and that's nothing to say about its rather infamous twist ending, you know?
Yeah, and the fact that they eventually followed it up in 4, and you find out that everybody died.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, really?
I mean, at least 4 it did end on a good note, but
Yes.
It's like, oof. Rolf drew the shit straw out of the Phantasy Star Pro tags.
Yeah,
Poor
he
guy.
did. But, yeah, so no tears, but definitely a sense of sadness.
Okay, well, that's the least I could ask for. I am much more of a pussy, as it turns out, so,
Hey, Han, you said you had an ex that got really sad when you killed the Colossi in Shadow of the Colossus?
They're so overrated. I never felt that at all. That was a weird sound I made.
I'll say.
All
right, so go ahead.
I'm very sorry, Heihan. That was a sort of. I mean, if it was your actual wife, then I would hold back. But you said ex, so like, I figured I could shit on that. Yeah.
I never played Shadow of the Colossus, so
I don't think it's the type of game you'd like, honestly. And
yeah,
I mean,
probably not.
Yeah,
Sam would be like beside himself right now.
yeah, I know he's a fan of that game, and he's allowed to have at least one wrong opinion. As now, I'm the one cutting against the grain of history here, but I already went into Shadow of the Colossus on our second hot take stream, so everyone look that one up to hear further my opinions on what I consider a conceptually interesting but mechanically not excellent game, in my opinion. And yeah, no, killing them never bothered me either. I can't say that I felt any great sorrow for these majestic beasts and whatever. And like, anyway,
now, there was one other kind of little thing.
Yes, what's that?
You know, you're playing Shadow Dancer for the Genesis, and the dog takes a hit and turns into a puppy.
Oh yeah,
just that little like it gives out.
Yeah,
but then he becomes a puppy, and that's great.
I'm glad he just doesn't like outright fucking die, but it's like it must be some sort of like dog magic, like he gives up like his current form or whatever and has to like regress temporarily. I don't know.
It's funny the way he follows you around after that though, because his like his tongue's sticking out. He's just kind of acting all like a puppy, like, oh boy, my first day. I hope I do great.
Yeah. Although I do feel a little bit bad when he gets hit. Like, I'm not even a big fan of dogs in real life, but like virtual puppers, I do feel bad for whenever they get damaged.
Yeah.
Unless they're the Nazi dogs in Wolfenstein.
That's one thing.
Yeah. Anyway, no, to actually get to this subject, I want to bring up a somewhat lighter form at first, because Snar mentioned that I'm trying to remember if the ending of Gunstar Heroes made me cry or if it just made me feel crushingly depressed. The only one part of that game I'm not fond of is its ambiguous ending.
It is really ambiguous.
Yeah, that always bugged the shit out of me. Um, that actually reminds me a lot of when I beat, fucking coincidentally, since Rob alluded to it, Final Fantasy VII,
Hmm.
which, no, the fucking spoilers, by the way, 3, 2, 1, go. Death of Aerith, or Eris. I mean, they're going with Aerith now in the modern games, but, that fucking doesn't matter. She gets permanently killed by Sephiroth, and like they don't even throw her a Phoenix down or whatever. That always bugged the fuck out of me. I like the music in that part is good, but I've never really found it all that tragic. It's like I'm just annoyed that I probably lost the most magically oriented party member out of everybody, and like no one else really excels in it as much as her, except maybe for Red 13 and Kate Shee. But
I'm just gonna say Sega did it first and best.
yeah, they actually gave a very good reason why Ney couldn't be revived. Actually, and yeah, no, they made that legit. Actually, integrated that in the gameplay. And funny enough, Final Fantasy V, 2 games prior to it, actually does have another party member die, but they go out in a really awesome way. And the rest of the party actually does try many things to resurrect him, but he just tells them it's no use and it's my time. That was handled so much better than how 7 just does it. It's like, oh, she's praying. Oh, big sword guy, dead. Boss fight, Genova life. That's it. Sad music. No one just even thinks to cast the lowest form of the life spell before they just let her corpse drift off the water. It's kind of stupid, I'll be honest.
Well, we got
Yeah, at
magic.
least it just...
I don't know. No. She died, but we can heal her.
That feels like a Pro ZD skit in the works. I wonder if he actually did address that at some point. But, no, that wasn't the part about 7 that made me sad. It was actually the very, very end where, spoilers, like, you know, the live stream all gathers up and everyone's wondering what's going to happen, and then, boom, it just then cuts to credits at what seems like a rather abrupt sort of, almost, like kind of like how The Sopranos ended, a sort of similar note to that, best way I can describe it. And then there's just this like one brief post-credit scene where it's like what seemed like descendants of Red 13 are running around this very a much greener planet or whatever. And then like it just cuts to a dark screen full of stars that just keep scrolling by while the classic Final Fantasy fanfare theme plays. And I'm just sitting there for like 10 minutes wondering, A, what the fuck just happened, and B, when they're going to tell me what the fuck just happened. And then it just kind of eventually sank in, no, that was the ending. That was all we got. And I felt a very palpable sense of disappointment as I just quietly turned the PlayStation off at that point.
Yeah, going back to Gunstar Heroes for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, it may have been an ambiguous ending, but then they start the credits and that really awesome credit music.
That was really awesome, yeah. Almost a tonal anime sort of ending jag, but... I mean, but yeah.
Snarb said that Gunstar Superheroes answered it conclusively, so I'm curious as to what the actual ending is.
Strangely enough, yeah. That was by and large a rather inferior game, and I don't know whether to call it like a remake or a sequel or whatever. It's one of those ambiguous things. And also the final battle against Gold and Silver is much shittier. In fact, I think he just lets the gems do the work. He doesn't even really attack you himself.
Oh, that's lame.
That is really lame, yes. But it did provide something more of a conclusive bow on it, so, credit where it's due. I can't remember exactly what that was, because I didn't really think much of that game. Yes, hey, Han, that is the GBA one. But, yeah, I can understand if you didn't finish it. 2 more serious examples of games, however, that did make me cry were, 1, the end of the 3rd Ace Attorney game, with the somewhat goofy Western subtitle of Trials and Tribulations, but that's the one with the white-haired guy with the Geordie LaForge mask that drinks coffee.
That's an interesting concept.
That is an actual character. His name is Godot. And,
Godot
LaForge. Exactly. Yeah, the Ace Attorney series I felt had these really fascinating narratives for the time, and, like, still do. Like, they are, like, you gotta find out what the hell this thing is that's happened, and you slowly uncover things, and then things become obvious, but then you have to think exactly how to expose it, and it is, like, by all accounts, for me, like, a dyed in the wool fan of, like, Contra and Mega Man. It shouldn't be a series that I'd love so much, but I don't know, it just grabbed me at the right time. It never really let go, and I'm a big AA fan.
Objection.
As it turns out. Yeah, that's the series that has that, yes.
That's all I know about that series.
Yeah. Well, to be fair... Oh,
wasn't the Harvey Birdman game for PS2 based on that engine?
Kinda, sort of, yes. Surprisingly, I never actually got around to playing that one. I feel like I should at some point.
I have played that.
How is it?
I can't compare it to the Paint Direct games,
I know.
but it was interesting. I'll say that much.
Yeah, I feel like I should get on it. Although I think I passed back in the day because the lack of Stephen Colbert was kind of a deal breaker, but I think I can get it.
Loins.
Yeah. I think I can get over that now, but... And for those that haven't played Ace Attorney 3, I don't want to spoil too terribly much, but it's been a very long and emotional case, and this one photo gets revealed of two of the main characters when they were kids. They broke a vase. One is crying while the other's trying to repair it, and, like, when that photo was revealed, I just fucking broke. It's like everything in the game had just built up to just, like, such a moment with this, this mystical family that has been involved in this series, and it was like sweet and also kind of tragic at the same time, because one of those characters at that point is like no longer they're dead, as it were, and I know it's kind of stupid to explain because I don't want to spoil too much, but
explain this much to Sharon at least. It is a court thing.
Yeah. Objection is whatever Phoenix shouts whenever you present a piece of evidence. Oh, you haven't heard of Ace Attorney? Known as Gyakuten Saiban in Japan, it was actually released as, like, it was touted as a premier detective adventure game in the early days of the Nintendo DS. And it was, in fact, actually got its start on the Game Boy Advance, but the series at that point had been entirely confined to Japan before the first game got a remake on the Nintendo DS, and that also got ported over to the West. And it was a very distinctly Japanese game. It was incredibly anime-ish, and there is no way at all that the proceedings of how law is depicted in that game would hold up in any way in an actual American court of law. Now, presumably it is based on, like, the Japanese law system, so maybe there are some aspects that don't make as much sense to us, but even then, I think it takes a lot of liberties with how court proceedings are generally handled, but
it is actually a game based on a court system, so you're actually playing a lawyer.
Yes, exactly. And it's like, you basically do fight against a prosecutor and attempt to work with the witnesses who get called to the stand, and inevitably one of these witnesses is the true killer, which is also very likely not something that happens very often in an actual court of law, so it is very zany, but this series knows when to get dramatic, and usually when you've gotten far enough in each mystery, it usually drops something really tragic that happened that kind of, set the motive in place, and I don't know, it has a very interesting tone that I've, for the most part, found very captivating. So, if you're into adventure games, I think it's definitely worth a look. I do think the second game is kind of weak, but at least check out the first game if that sounds interesting to you at all. Not so much an RPG, more like sort of like a graphic adventure, but not like how you control a character in, like, Sierra game. It's mostly first person. It's more like what are known as, like, the the Famicom detective games from the 80s that we mostly didn't get over here, like the Serial Case of Portopia or whatever. It's a type of adventure game, but, if you want to put a fine point on it, it is, I guess, sort of like a Sierra or LucasArts bit, though only in the sort of vaguest sense, but I don't know, I just really like them. So if that sounds interesting to you at all, then yeah, give it a peek.
Well, keep in mind, much like myself, Sharon didn't know much of the way of PC gaming.
I understand that.
So, but for some strange reasoning, I'm picturing now a crossover between Ace Attorney and Law and Order.
I'm sure someone's done that at some point, something like that. That would actually be... Well, actually, yeah. In between the court sections, in between the court sections, you actually do go on investigation sections that do play out somewhat more, like, I have to find this thing or talk to this person, more like sort of traditional adventure games. And I don't know how often lawyers are allowed to visit the scenes of the crime while the detectives are looking over them, but you do kind of play amateur detective a lot also, so you are both law and order in a way.
If Lenny Briscoe was on the case, he'd chase him out of there.
Yeah. I'm sure someone has wrote some sort of fan fiction with Phoenix teaming up with Jack McCoy or whatever at some point. I'm sure someone has done something like that, so.
Yeah. Alright, so were there any other games that made you cry?
There was another one that I wanted to note, and again, it is a fairly story-heavy one. I don't want to spoil too much, but if anyone is familiar with Mother 3, it probably doesn't surprise you that one made me cry. Oh dear. Yeah, the put a fine point on it. It's the sequel to Earthbound, so to speak. Considering
that Earthbound's real name was Mother 2, would make sense.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, for the longest time, we only ever got the second game in the trilogy, but they did eventually bring the first Mother over here with the slightly clunky title of Earthbound Beginnings. And now, I grew up playing and loving Earthbound very much. It is, in fact, still my favorite RPG of all time. And for a while, I even thought I liked Mother 3 more. At this point, I don't think I quite hold it in as high regard, but I do think it is still a great game. And the fact that it sadly still has not officially been localized ever to the West is a crying shame. And Nintendo has gotten harangued quite a bit by the Earthbound fan base about not getting that out. And, to be fair, it did get... Oh, thank you, Sharon. Yes, Earthbound's excellent. To be fair, Mother 3 did get what is probably the platinum standard for fan patches ever made. Like, it's... No, seriously, it's translation, Jesus. It's fan translation, done by Clyde Tomato Mandolin, who himself is a huge expert on localization. It's great enough to be official, and I did manage to experience it unideally with an emulator, which is kind of a problem with emulators back in the day, because when you do physical attacks in Mother 3, there's this... You can actually do combos if you hit the A button to the time of the music. So it has, like, rhythm combos, but that wasn't so ideal on the sort of input lag that the GBA emulators of the day had, so that made it a little rougher. But nonetheless, I was very glad to enjoy it, but holy shit, this game is depressing. Okay, so the game is, Jesus Christ, it's almost 20 years old now. Holy fucking shit. I was in college when I played it, so it just seems so distant now. But I was actually in college when I played Ace Attorney 3 also, so maybe the stress of college is making me more of a crybaby than usual. I don't know.
Could be.
But, I will say this. In the first chapter, the protagonist's mother is rather brutally killed.
Ouch.
And it doesn't get much kinder from there on out. Okay, the second chapter is somewhat lighter, but then the third chapter has you play as a monkey, being cruelly abused by your slave owner, and you just have to distribute these TVs to brainwash everyone, and it's a really fucked up game.
It sounds like it.
It has its moments of levity, but it is much darker than the first two games, I feel. And after everything that happens, it has a rather ambiguous ending that, I don't know, I could probably write... There's probably been essays written about how to interpret it. But, basically... I don't know how to describe that part in the ending, but... And I won't, but... The end credits then roll on, and there's this one part near the end where the main character, Lucas, is just happily running down the lane with his brother, Klaus. And just, I don't know, that part fucking made me break. And I kind of feel a little tearful even recounting that. Especially if you know, I'll just say this, Klaus doesn't get such a great deal himself. So, it's, it is,
Earthbound 3, the game where everyone gets screwed.
That's actually not a bad way of putting it. I'll be honest. Even the villain kind of gets screwed in a way, even though he doesn't realize it. But oh man, the villain is really nasty. Oh my god!
You ever consider maybe that is such a downer of a game is why Nintendo hasn't brought it over?
That might actually be part of it. It is fucking dark, yeah. There's also like. There's a somewhat odd set of characters that kind of have rather unconventional gender norms that I think might also be a part of why an official translation is getting held up.
Could be.
I mean, I do think it's a fantastic game, but, like, it's not one for the faint of heart. It does, like I said, it has moments of levity, but it is a real roller coaster, and it is, it's a real experience, I will say that, and it was one that I was glad to share, but just, like, at the end of it, and that I knew it was the end, and that we could just reflect in this one pleasant memory at the end of it, I did, definitely.
So then, Sharon wants to know, and if you keep it short, what'd you think of Evo and Populous?
Unfortunately, I haven't played Populous, so I can't really talk about that one. I'm not sure if that's my type of game. You have?
I have. It is.
Oh, what'd you like?
I like playing through the first world and then turning it off.
It gets more complicated after that. I think it has a pretty interesting premise, but I don't know. God games aren't really my angle. Too much of a management sim.
Pretty much. Why I only like playing the first stage, but it is fun to go ahead and do some things in that game.
I know it was released on several consoles, and I think it was also actually a PC game originally. Yeah. I'll find out the best way to play it. I'll get on at some point, and hopefully I'll get back to you that at some point.
The interesting thing, Snarb, is that the Genesis port is the one I played.
Dang. However, Sharon, I did play and beat Evo, The Search for Eden. And I have somewhat mixed thoughts, but ultimately I did like playing that one. However, it is also an incredibly grindy action RPG. Grinding is half the thing that you have to do in it, and I think it gets kind of egregious in the third chapter. I really liked my first playthrough of it, and I didn't even really mind the grinding so much. I just thought, hey, I'm just, killing all these animals for meat, which isn't visually as gruesome as is depicted, and I just found it a pretty neat game to chill out with. But it was also worth it to get to the more action-y bits and see how I could evolve my creature and, eventually make them into a Cro-Magnon human by the end.
Okay. You mentioned...
However...
Let me interject here. You mentioned the whole killing all these animals for meat. That immediately brought me to Red Dead Redemption in my head, which then
Ooh.
leapfrogged over to Red Head Redemption as Sif and Ollie reviewed it.
Right, right. They did. Oh shit! I couldn't honestly seen that.
What are you doing? This guy's gonna fry up real tender, like. Yeah, we'll take it back to my cabin, and we'll go ahead and I'll put on Ma's dress, and I'll even let you lick the ranch dressing off the axe. Okay, dude, turn it off.
Love those guys. Love that show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say that I do actually have a pretty soft spot for Evo, but I wasn't clicking with it so much when I attempted to replay it on stream at some point. Because, yeah, if it's not hitting you right, the rather blatant grinding can feel a lot like homework, as it were. I think the first chapter is the best, where you are actually just a fish at that point. And I think that the grinding isn't as bad there, and it feels more like you're pushing forward, but when you get to a terrestrial point, it does feel like the game gets slower and slower as the experience point demands for evolving your parts get higher and higher. So it's an interesting game conceptually, but in practice, I do think it can be rather slow. However, I do ultimately like it. Although I hear it's based off of like a PC 88 or 98 game that's even more fucking crazy. Like, Lucifer is represented as some like hot naked vampire woman or something like that. I forget its name exactly. Something Gaia Evo. Well, at any rate, Evo: The Theory of Evolution. That's the one. Okay, and it was for the PC 9801. But yeah, Evo's pretty cool.
So, given that, let's move on to games that pissed you off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
got a couple stories there.
Indeed.
Since you've been talking for a while now, I think I'll go ahead and throw one of those out first.
As a matter of fact, I have to go to the bathroom quick, so go ahead, and then could you recap me on what you said?
I shall entertain the people in your absence.
Okay, be back quick.
Okay, Mike's gone. Everyone just go ahead and talk shit about him in the chat. Go ahead. He won't say it. I'm going to wait for him to get back. It's not going to recap the story. It means you guys have to hear it twice. I know that'll get boring, so on and so forth. So, I could just play the opening music again. So, maybe we'll see. All right.
I am back. Wait, intermission. What? Huh? What?
Yes, I decided to go ahead and run the opening music and do an intermission screen while you were gone, rather than have everyone hear the same story twice.
Okay. Okay, cool. Thank you. I appreciate that. Sorry about that. I guess I needed a bit of a break anyway, so...
Yes, Narb, it is good to play Goonies too.
Yeah, it's good enough, you could say.
So, anyway, I actually forgot I had the intermission screen. I don't think I've ever actually used it before.
Yeah, I forgot you had that too. Shit. We should use that more.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting watching the playback of the stream. I was messing with the size of the chat window.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
But anyway, so yes, I have a couple times I got pissed off playing games. Not to the extent that my brother Ryan did. Oh, I wrote an entire chapter about him in memoirs, but I'm not going to go into that. Let's talk about the couple times that I kind of lost it.
Yes.
All right. Now, keep in mind, most of this happened when I was much, much younger and a little more hot-headed. One day, I decided I was going to go ahead and play Shadow Dancer for the Genesis on its hardest mode.
I knew you were going to mention this one. Yes.
Yes, I am. So, where on the title screen it says, when you set it to hardest, like Shadow Dancer 3. It's like, I don't know, it's a strange way of announcing it's on the hardest mode, but all right. So, I'm doing pretty good as I go through the game. And I get up to the final stage. And it took me forever to get through the damn rooms just to get to the Union Lizard. Those fucking gray ninjas.
Yeah. That is a...
Oh, they were just relentless.
That is an incredibly brutal final stage, to be fair, though. So
yeah. But, oh, I screamed at the damn thing.
You screamed, "You motherfucker," extremely loudly, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, I just let loose. But when I finished it, it was worth it.
Awesome.
Because I actually did finish the game. So, and then I said, I'm never doing that again. And to this day, I still haven't.
Yeah. No need to if you already did do it. That just sounds like they'd just be putting yourself through a lot more stress to ever attempt that again.
And my skills are atrophied a bit, so.
Yeah. There are definitely some really out there accomplishments I don't think I could pull off again, or if I could, then I'd have to really practice a lot to do that, and that's time I just don't want to spend, so yeah.
So, all right. Well, what's one time a game pissed you off? Now, you can talk about some of the times you lost it when you were live.
Yeah, I guess it happened. I still have some temper issues, and this actually happens semi-frequently for me, I hate to admit. I, like Captain Kirk, do not like to lose. I will accept failure to some point, like, okay, that's a pretty hard point, or fair cop, I really fucked up here, but, like, if I keep losing at the same part repeatedly, then I get significantly annoyed, or if there's a lot riding on a certain death, and, like, if I blow it, I have to go back to the beginning of the game. It's very thrilling if I, among our parlance, pull a Bronley, but if I don't, sometimes I just kind of break, and I don't yell so much, but I do kind of throw my controller and headphones down on the ground, which is really not a good thing to do at all. And I have a stress ball now. That will help, I'm sure.
I'm just going to sum it up in 3 words, Mike.
Yes.
Fry the monster.
Oh, Cobra Triangle. Actually, this is a very hilarious thing that I would like to mention. I didn't get so much angry as I just... There's a term I've heard on the internet is getting Joker-fied. I'm sure that... I know Dyer remembers... unfortunately, I don't think Kate's in the stream right now, but I'm sure Snarb remembers this. Okay, so Cobra Triangle is, like... I think it's the hardest NES game ever made. There might be worse examples, but that is just the patent example that I go with, and I tried to beat it even with the Game Genie, and that fucking wasn't happening, so I just realized that, no, this game's beyond... It'll be my white whale that I don't think is going to be worth pursuing. So I wanted to demonstrate, when I streamed games 2 years back, that Cobra Triangle is the most bullshit game ever made.
Hey,
And wow,
Mike,
Sarah... What's that?
1 sec.
Yeah.
Yes, Sharon, agreed. Okay, continue.
What? Or Green Dragon? Yeah, no, actually, that's fair, Snarb. Yeah. I mean, the Green Dragon's the first boss, but this is actually where the incident happened. So yeah, I wanted to prove that Cobra Triangle was terrible bullshit, and like, the angels answered me from upon high, the most serendipitous strike of fucking bogus asshole junk that I could ever ask for. The first boss, or the first Fry the Monster sequence, as Rob is so fond of saying, because it is actually a very funny string of words. Yeah, I unfortunately had a rather shitty shot at this time where I just like fire one shot, but then if I press the button again, it bursts into 4, and that's not only very impractical, but it's also much slower than the other fire weapons I could have, and it was a real struggle to try and kill the Green Dragon boss with that, and he sunked me a couple times, and I got all the way down to my last life, and everything you do in this game has a fucking time limit on it. And I just very fervently mashed the A button, just trying to fucking finish the bastard off. And then I did manage to kill him with 2 seconds to spare, and then I was saying, oh wow, that was a really close one. Except that the timer doesn't immediately stop when you kill the boss. It actually ticks a few seconds afterward for some really poorly programmed reason. It doesn't freeze immediately. It only freezes when the actual victory music plays. So I killed the boss, but not fast enough that just the 2 seconds that were left still ticked down because I didn't kill it fast enough for the victory music to play. So I won, but then my time ran out and my ship blew up, and that was the last life I was on as well. So I was going to say that was a really close one and all, but then I realized what had happened, and then it's just like dead silent on the stream for like 10-15 seconds as, yes, Prime, a clock with fucking inertia. Who the hell does that? Rareware fucking does that, apparently!
Yep.
And, it's like, I'm just completely silent while the continue timer ticks down until it gets down to like 2, 1, and then I just go... I actually jokered out. It was my life Joker moment. I just laughed my ass off, not even bothering to put in my initials for a high score. I thought it was kind of brilliant that Cobra Triangle, this game that has always defeated me at every step of the way, found a new way to piss me off live on camera.
And, you know, there's something I wanted to say to Snarb at the time, but I just didn't even think of typing it.
Yes.
Like, Mike has gone bye-bye, Snarb. What have you got left?
Well, Snarf has the Genesis Beavis and Butthead game, which he says pissed him off so bad his mom banned him from playing it for life, and he still hasn't played it since.
It's pretty
That's
bad.
not a very good game.
No.
I actually kind of think it would have been neat if it had stuck more to being sort of like a Sierra-esque action-adventure game, which it almost feels like at some points, except for the fact there's like this like fucking mall guard running around that can kill you or whatever, and that's like bogus. But then you get to the suburbs level, and then it becomes a really bad platformer in what just so happens to be a sewer level of all things. And that's where the game just fucking tanks for me. It's terrible. My God.
Betty and I played that one over a year ago, and yeah, that game sucks.
It does. Anyway, Rob, you had another example that you wanted to share? Because I have another example I can. You go first, then.
Okay. Now, this is probably one you're not expecting.
Interesting. What would that
There's
be?
a game that I have completed with ease. Many, many times I did it originally. Except for this one time. No matter what I did, I could not finish it. And I got so upset, I actually had to break something.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That was Castlevania.
I had a feeling you were going to say some Castlevania.
The original, the same one I beat every New Year's Eve.
When did this happen?
Sometime in the early 90s. I got to Dracula. I mean, I was doing great. I basically breezed past the first 5 stages, made it up to his tower, did all my collecting of the hearts and all that, got the boomerangs, but no matter what, I could not kill Dracula. I couldn't even get him down to his second form half the time.
Oh, wow.
And after about 30 tries, I finally just said enough. Turned it off, went looking for something to break. Found something, broke it, felt better.
What was the thing that you broke, if you're allowed to say?
It wasn't anything special. It was just, what was it? See, it was like an old glass or something like that. Something no one cared about.
Okay.
So
I just had a terrible thought that just for that brief moment, did you have to wonder at any point, crikey, I've lost my mojo?
Well, if Austin Powers, The Spy That Shagged Me, had been released at the time, maybe I would have thought that.
Oh, it was okay. Yeah, no.
It's in the early 90s, not the late 90s.
Anachronistic error on my end, but that's just kind of the yeah,
Transtemporal plagiarism.
Oh wow, I haven't heard that term in a while. But yeah, sometimes you just have a bad day with video games. Like I did when I streamed Over Horizon that one time. I could swear I was better in that game than how poorly I exhibited on stream, but that last stage just raked me over the fucking coals. That final boss is a dickhead. I don't remember him being that heinous. I don't know if I've lost my touch or if I just felt stronger or whatever. If maybe I could figure my weapons better when I did beat the game earlier. But that was very no chill. That did not go so hotly.
That's a game I really need to play more of. I really haven't.
It's a great game, though. Yeah, if you like Steel Empire, it is the same company. Yeah. So,
hey, Great White North back.
So,
welcome back.
Oh, hey, North Wecklum. Yeah, Hot B, who's actually mostly known for their fishing games, made 2 of my favorite shoot 'em ups. It's fucking weird.
The Black Bass. The Blue Marlin.
Blue Marlin, yes. The Red Snapper. No, wait, that was
very tasty. I was just watching that the other night too.
That would be great, yeah.
So, hope you're feeling better, GWN.
Yeah. Again, it seems like a lot of people are sick nowadays, so hope you're holding your proverbial fluids in. That sounded terrible. Discount strike that from the record.
Mike, you're not allowed to speak for the next 2 minutes.
Well, that sucks because I was going to talk about my other anger story.
Go ahead. I guess I'll let it slide.
It's not as fun as the Cobra Triangle one, but it is actually a game that Rob knows well, and it is actually a rare case of a 6th generation game based off of an old property that we actually both ended up really liking. However, the final boss was a dickhead. However, I was playing on the hardest difficulty as well, so that would explain it.
Yeah. All right, what was it?
That happened to be Rygar the Legendary Adventure.
Yeah. That actually was a pretty good game.
Yeah, really damn good. And it feels like it doesn't get spoken enough by now. It maybe in a way was sort of overshadowed by Ninja Gaiden, also by Tecmo, come out a couple years later, but I still think TLA is actually a very good mix of action and adventure, and just had a really neat atmosphere, and for its time, a fairly well-developed combo system that, even if not quite as crazy as Devil May Cry, I'd say would be roughly in par with that. It's a very solid game overall.
Now, here's a useless fact for you.
Yeah.
Now, you know the name of the princess in that game is Harmonia.
Yes.
Now, if you take a C and you put that at the right point in her name, she becomes Princess Harmonica.
That is an extremely fucking useless fact. Shut up. So, yeah. You goof. Jesus. The type of shit I'm working with here.
Oh, you know what that calls for, don't you?
What's that?
Let's see. I believe that calls for this.
Shit, I should have done that. That's right. Oh well, that I didn't is my quack to bear. Anyway. But yeah, the final boss is, I believe, Kronos, the god of time. He's this rather skeletal-looking figure who is very tough. I mean, I don't remember exactly his moveset, but I remember him warping around a lot. Somewhat Dracula-esque in a way. And he's a suitable final challenge, as it were. I also remember it taking place in some sort of like really neat white void or whatever. It felt like a fucking final battle.
I finished that game once too, but it has been so long I've literally forgotten everything about that battle.
Yeah, it has been a long time on my end also. But I remember that I loved the game enough that I think there might have been some incentive for being in on harder difficulties. Either that, or maybe there wasn't. Maybe I just wanted to do that because I liked the game enough and I didn't feel like playing anything else at the time. So I decided to take it up a notch, which I also did with some of the Devil May Cry games at the time also. And Kronos on the hardest difficulty is exactly as difficult as you would expect a final boss on the hardest difficulty to be, and I think I was at him for like an hour or so, and I eventually just lost my patience to the extent that I flipped the wooden coffee table over in the den, and while it was turned over, I stomped on its exposed bottom floorboard and kicked that out from its place.
Geez, all I did was break a glass.
To be fair, I was able to easily fit it back in place, but check. I still actually have this coffee table also, and let me feel this. Yeah, feeling it. The center board is still very slightly raised. It's a little bit of a permanent mark of just a very uncouth thing that I did in just a brief moment of failure that I couldn't deal with, and it's very subtle. It's not like I left like a dent, more like I, hit the thing with an axe or whatever, but yeah, no, it was a rather, I was more amused by the reaction than the actual thing that triggered it, so.
Table flippers. Yeah. That's a pretty good idea.
There's actually an emotic, like Japanese sort of emoji for flipping the table in rage. Let me see if I can. In Unicode, it looks like if I can post it in the chat, it looks like. No, come on, let me copy you, stupid. Hang on. It's not working. Oh wait, there it goes. Okay. Like this. There we go. Okay, that maybe. Yeah, there we go.
Well, you can certainly tell what it is.
Yeah, it's pretty great. But yeah, again, I should definitely use the stress ball more. I still feel like I occasionally have a few unwarranted anger issues. I'm maybe not quite as over the loop as I was back then, but again, I don't like to lose. So,
well, in my case, those are the two most extreme cases I can think of, and they were both pretty tame.
Yeah, you didn't permanently damage your coffee table because of that, either of those. So
nope, I'm just laid back like that.
I'm not.
No, it was Ryan who got all the anger issues.
Yeah, I gathered.
Well, not to repeat too much of what I wrote in memoirs, but he lost a game and decided to beat up the NES and the TV.
Yeah.
Luckily, I was there to stop him.
I think it was someone on our board. It might have been Vigar. I don't remember, but I remember they said that when they were playing Super Street Fighter 2 with their brother, he beat his brother as DJ, and at first, the brother didn't really register that. Then DJ started dancing around with his maracas, and his brother crushed his hand out of fury, as I remember, which, Jesus.
I don't even remember that.
I
Hang on one
yeah,
second. Sharon, that's an idea, but that's an awfully broad topic for a stream.
hmm.
We'd have to narrow it down to like some of the most obscure stuff.
Games that don't often get talked about. That is a little bit broad. There's a. I will say that while there is still some, I think, untrod territory for games, most of it is, I think, by and large, out in the open. You don't often hear the term hidden gem very often anymore, and if you do, it's usually with a little pinch of irony.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I think I did actually recently learn about some game that I had never heard of before, but now I can't even remember what the fuck that was. That's kind of a generalist. Although, Snarb said games that he didn't expect to enjoy, but eventually did. That I like the idea of.
Yeah. Well, why Sharon is because it's just too broad of a topic. There's just so many. I mean, yeah, there's some that you hear about all the time, but for every one you hear about, there's at least, 30 or 40 other games you don't ever hear about.
I mean, off the top of my head, I can think of, like, Power Blade, Operation Logic Bomb, Cyborg Justice, although that one sucks. Eternal Champions. What's that?
Kajikai.
Kajik.
I think that's how you pronounce it. I don't know. It's Japanese. It looks like Kageki.
Oh, that really weird Taito one with like the Yakuza brawling and whatnot.
Right.
I always said Kageki, but you might be right. I don't know.
Yeah. Heck, you just look at the pre-Sonic years of the Genesis, you'll find a ton of games that don't really, get talked about.
We talk about the Genesis and Bruno just so happens to show up.
Yeah, it's like almost like the bat signaled him. Oh no, they're talking about the Genesis. I must tell them how much it sucks.
We love you, Bruno, you son of a bitch.
Fighting Masters, yes.
Oh yeah, that one I actually kind of had an odd soft spot for.
So did I.
I actually beat it not too terribly long ago, I believe, using the plant known as Dio.
Plant's hilarious.
Yeah.
Of course, now, you want to get in some other stuff here? What about, say, Battle Ace for the Super Graphics? No one ever talks about that.
Yeah, no one ever talks about the super graphics.
No. Yet, at least two of the games on there are very well known.
Aldines, I know. Yeah, Aldines and Ghouls and Ghosts.
I was thinking more 1941 in Ghouls and Ghosts.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, Aldines is still kind of obscure.
Yeah, that's fair.
But you got that and Battle Ace and Grand Zort.
Green Zort. Zort.
Yeah, it plays like a Keith Courage sequel. And there's another one you never hear about, Keith Courage and Alpha Zones.
Yeah, one that for some reason kind of gets oddly shat on by some people, which I never really understood. I like it. I liked it long enough to beat it.
Yeah. Well, hell, half the TurboGrafx library never gets talked about.
Yeah, not definitely.
Who here really remembers Vague's Tactical Gladiator? Raise your hand.
I'm raising it, but I'm sure not many would. Yeah. Hey, what about the fact that it had a tennis RPG on it many years before Nintendo and Camelot made theirs for the GBC?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or we know they had so many shooters on that console, but how many of them are remembered overly fondly besides, like, say, Soldier Blade?
Yeah, I mean, you got Psychosis/Paranoia, you have Sinistron, you have Download and its hilarious grasp of the English language.
I cannot fuck up for this.
Shit, is not this a great beginning? We already did a TG16 stream, right?
Long time ago, but yes.
Can we do another one? I just love that console so much. No, I'm just kidding.
I would actually be open to revisiting it, to tell you the truth.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's just that good. We are... I hate to say stan because that's such a fucking modern internet Twitter vernacular ass term, but For you kids out there, I will beck to the modern, lingo that you use. I guess Rob and I are stands for the TG16. I feel dirty. I forget I said that.
Oh, Mike. Mike.
It's okay. I'll just, yeah.
One of my daughters called me a stand for something once.
Oh yeah, Dua Lipa. That's right.
Luckily, I knew what that meant. So I was like, not exactly, Katie.
Yeah. Well, she's actually legit, so.
Yeah. Anyway, all that aside, let's move on to probably our last subject here.
Yeah, before I do any more cringe, please move the hell on.
You mean blazing lasers, Bruno?
Oh, well, that is one that gets talked about with some frequency, but yeah,
true.
Blazing Lasers is fucking great.
Gunhead.
So. Yeah. Also a good title.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, come on, there's just so many great shooters on that console. But anyway, that's a different topic entirely. So, all right. The defining moment for each of us when gaming made us feel officially old.
Oh, yeah.
Snarb, how dare you bring that show up here?
Yeah. Actually, you know what? I think that might warrant a... I'm not sure if we can use that kind of racy term that I have for that show, but at least I'm not going to... Oh?
I have an idea.
What's that?
I don't know if I can find it here. Let me see. I got another idea. All right, let me check. See, I have something here.
Or however the intermission music from
Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
I wish we could play that on cue somehow.
That would be great. No, I probably can't find it, but basically it's that it was a kind of a comic I posted about that show. Yes. It's like, I read comics because I'm a nerd. Everyone claps and laughs.
Yeah.
I can't talk to girls because I'm a nerd. Everyone claps and laughs. Yeah. At the end, it's like created by Chuck Lorre.
I remember there was this one great edit of a clip from The Big Bang Theory that instead of the typical canned studio laughter, it instead... Okay, how much do you know about Final Fantasy X?
Very little.
You know there's this one infamous scene where the main character, Tidus, was like laughing out loud to try and demonstrate a laugh to his love interest, Yuna, and it's very cheesy and cringy and...
Nope.
all that. Well, okay, so he has this really dumbass laugh that someone had the great idea of taking Tidus's laugh and having that replace the studio audience laughter, which somehow made the laughter sound really, like, sarcastic and condemning of the really shitty jokes on that show, and it's actually kind of great.
Nice. Hey, Han, I'm actually kind of with you there. You know?
Gaming Journal now. Yeah, no, that is a pretty big element of, yeah, that is definitely an indication of how different gaming is. And I don't want to necessarily say that DLC is in itself a bad thing, because if a game has more content to offer, that is a more pragmatic solution than just re-releasing a game wholesale, as Capcom did with all their various revisions of Street Fighter 2. But
yeah.
Microtransactions fucking suck ass, and I hate them. And day one patches just make me go, why? Like, you guys didn't... Why do we have to update this already? Shouldn't it have been already updated before you release it? Like, I think that might have something to do with, like, the really horrifying grindstone of modern game development. Probably has to do with crunch time and whatever, but like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's just, it's like, I could actually probably go back a little further than that. I think I really started to officially feel old around the time the N64 came out.
Yeah.
Didn't help that I was being called older than dirt by one of my coworkers. And I was, let me see, how old was I at the time?
You're just in
22?
your 20s! What the fuck?
Yeah, he was a wet behind his ears kid who was just out of high school.
I would have kneed him in the groin. But
Nah, he was open to hearing about old stuff. He just kind of became a running joke between us.
Oh, okay, so he was actually not bad. Okay.
Yeah, he was a cool dude. Also like Fear Factory, so.
Oh, well, no problems there then.
Yeah. But, yeah, I just, with the leaps, I guess you could call it the leaps that the N64 made with changing everything over to 3D and the PlayStation doing that as well. And it was like, not feeling this. Really not feeling this.
Yeah.
At least the PlayStation had enough 2D games to keep it going.
Yeah. But the PlayStation also had Bubsy 3D! So
unfortunately.
there was that.
But
I don't know why I would.
And then there were games that you'll never hear about anymore, like Blasto.
I actually played Blasto a fucking lot when I got it. I even beat it. I don't know why I played it so much.
Phil Hartman.
Probably because of Phil Hartman. Yeah, that was... And then, he died not too long after, so I guess I really kind of held on to it. Yeah. Okay, that's actually kind of sad shit. Okay, well, there's the explanation for that, but... Yes, yep. Snarb. Indeed. So.
But yeah, that was kind of when I first started to really feel my age. Although I remember distinctly about, I'm going to say about maybe 11, 12 years ago now. It was shortly after I gotten divorced. I was hanging out with a friend of mine. We'd gone to a strip club. And I was on the smoking patio. I was a little buzzed and, having a cigarette. And, yeah, gee, I'm not surprised, Sharon. And as I'm out there, a couple of the strippers come out, and they're just, they're on their break. So they're having a cigarette, and they're talking. Well, I start talking to them, and somehow, and I don't even know if I'm the one that instigated this. Like I said, I was kind of buzzed, but the subject kind of came back around to video games. I might have mentioned Splatterhouse. I don't know. But the two of them start talking about how much they loved playing the N64 when they were kids. I'm like, they did what?
Oh.
I was in college when that came out.
Oh,
dear Lord.
That had to be a huge boner killer. I'm sorry.
You're not far off there. It was at that moment I was just like, I actually started questioning, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
I've got kids. What am I doing with my life right now? That was before everything changed and I, left the state and all that. But it was just like, I feel old.
Yeah.
And then later on, a couple of years back on Twitter, I'm seeing all these accounts posting about how they have so much nostalgia for the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. They loved playing it when they were kids.
I want to shoot myself in the face. Holy fuck.
They were on break, Bruno. But, I just remember seeing that, and I was like, okay. Seeing all these accounts posting about how they find the 360 and the PS3 so nostalgic, and I'm here reminding myself that I was running fan sites for games before most of them were probably even born or out of diapers. I included a GIF of Grandpa Simpson flying into the grave from that one episode.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That was just like, it's just going to get worse as time goes on, too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I, for the most part, actually haven't felt that quite as badly for most of my life. When the infamous 7th gen hit, or as I call it, the revenge of jingoism, no, the revenge of Western gaming, when what's its nuts, like Call of Duty and I guess Gears of War, even though I kind of made my peace of that one, but like or some other, I guess like Uncharted, all those cover shooters or whatever, and all those open world games, all those Grand Theft Auto types, and
Oh,
fuck you,
Snarf, how
Sarp.
could
It's
you?
8! It's 8! Just 8! Fuck you, man! God damn it! So I didn't feel really old necessarily when the 7th gen was making its rounds and like Western gaming paradigms were getting celebrated, but I did kind of feel like gaming wasn't quite for me at that time, and I had to focus more on college. So I've said many things about that era by now, as you know, not all of them so favorable. But then a couple of years ago, I then get kind of testy about the 7th gen public, and then someone else on the Discord server, I mentioned that, saying, no, I actually really like the 7th gen. I have a lot of nostalgia for that age, and I'm like, okay. I respect your opinion, but I don't necessarily agree with it. That was a relatively minor example, though. Gaming, at least in my opinion, did get better, or at least the pendulum swung back into my sudden sea of interest, and it has been actually a great several years. To an extent, I mean, there's still a lot of things different. There's still a lot of bullshit, and for as many good games as there has been, still been some heinous things with the industry. And of course, last year in particular, there were a really distressing amount of layoffs, which just makes me think that the CEOs at the top need to be punched out of the skyscraper like Belger at the end of Final Fight. But no, it wasn't until actually just a few months ago that I really finally full-blown hit my old moment. And just wondering, fuck, is gaming even for me anymore? Actually, how do I want to phrase this exactly?
Being a virtual caveman rules.
Well, that's how you'd phrase that, certainly, but...
oh, yeah.
Right. Actually, this is actually something I wrote in your boards, so I just wanted to retouch my memory. This actually happened twice over last year, in 2023. First time was when one of my circles of friends all professed their love for what some, not me, would title a modern classic in Minecraft. This circle thought it was the most legendary games of all time. A couple of them are still addicted to it, and I just feel like almost nothing about the game. I've tried it for like some minutes in the past. It's not my thing, I moved on, but like I realize that for so many other people, Minecraft's just this huge, major involved thing that I just don't really buy into, and I just kind of felt isolated at this point, that there's this one really big game that I was just kind of icy to, but that didn't hit me as bad as what did back in, I want to say October or something.
Before you go on that, I just want to say something about Minecraft.
Please do.
I played it once. I dug a very deep hole. But seriously, folks, that's exactly what I did.
Well, did you have fun with that?
Well, I was really wondering how deep the ground was, so I was just like, okay, I'm just going to keep chopping until I, either fall through the bottom of the game board or something else happens. And
ironic, huh? What did happen?
I think I eventually dropped in some lava.
Oh, it sounds like this is fucking ironic. Sounds like you got more out of the game than I did. Wow.
Hey, just fire it up and start digging a hole, see what happens.
You know what? I will give Minecraft another try at some point.
Trust me.
I think I owe it to
dig a
myself.
hole. Just dig a hole.
That's the very first thing I'll do if I do fire it back up again.
Okay.
I appreciate. I actually appreciate that. That being said, I will give Minecraft some credit to a degree. I will not give fucking Fortnite any goddamn fucking credit ever. Fuck Fortnite. It is just, I hate it. It's stupid. It is cheapening commercial IPs and properties, and everything's just crossing over. And this actually just happened a month ago, actually. So, lots of characters are put into Fortnite. I guess character skins, technically, because, like, you know, everyone plays the same. And, about a month ago, Peter Griffin from Family Guy was put into Fortnite. And people were going fucking bonkers for him, especially since he was the first character to have a unique death animation, which is, of course, him hitting his shin on his mailbox and going, or like, and then that joke was drawn out for like 30 seconds, like every fucking joke on Family Guy was. And I'm like, Jesus cocksucking Christ. If all anyone ever cares about are Family Guy memes anymore, then entertainment is just really fucking doomed. Like, I always hated Fortnite from jump because I thought the Battle Royale craze was a mistake. That's just my opinion. Like, you know, you're able to say differently if you want, but I just don't like it. And, you know, I just feel like...
I can sum it up for you like this, Mike.
Yeah?
I used to be with it. Then they changed what it was. Now what
now
I'm with,
what
isn't
I'm
it?
with isn't it? And what's it? Seems weird and scary to me.
It'll
happen to you. No way, man. I'm going to keep on rocking forever. 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 It's a hilarious scene, but it gets more painfully poignant as life goes on.
And that's
yeah.
That's the funny thing, is I've come to accept stuff like that. It's like, this Fortnite is not a game that was designed with a gamer like myself in mind. You know?
I accept that to an extent, but I kind of thought after 5 years it would have fizzled out by now. That it's still not only going strong, but seems to be more popular than ever is what infuriates my brain. So
It doesn't even bother me. Just let the kids play what they want to play. They ain't bothering me, and I ain't bothering them.
I think I've become a very angry person in my 30s, so I hope when I get to where you are, I will have left all that behind and I feel overall more accepting of life, but I don't know, man. It's just kind of a worm squiggling around in my brain.
Just look at it like this. They're like the milkmaids.
Okay.
You know, the ones that pull out every gallon of milk.
Clerks. Yes. Fuck. Sorry, brain fart. It's getting late. God, I love Clerks. Also, I wanted to address what Snarb said earlier. The 7th gen almost killed gaming for me, if only because of the sudden, weirdly jingoistic sea change and sudden hatred of Japanese games. Yeah, no, that was unacceptable in my opinion. More than anything, that just kind of pisses me off more than anything else of the time did. There's this one certain, you know, vaunted indie developer who isn't really much of a thing now, so I don't feel like mentioning him, but he actually outright said in a public conference that Japanese games suck, and only that he got away with it aside from just a few rather shocked gasps. And I think he actually did say this to a Japanese person, and it's like, fuck you in the fucking ass with a fucking drill, you overzealous, you know, god-headed shit. Yeah, Heihan was Phil Fish. I wanted to keep his name from that, but I guess he's not much of a thing.
Guy.
So. Yeah.
And then I never heard about him again.
No one did. He fucking left the internet. He took his ball and went home.
Wait.
And,
so you're saying he left the internet, took his ball, and went home?
Yes.
Really?
He did, yes. I will say, kudos to Phil Fish. That was probably a good thing that he did. Quit hitting the golf clap sound. Okay, you stop now. Okay.
He needed an extended round of applause.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know what to think about that guy. He was a very arrogant and confrontative asshole for his time, and he only really like made one game, and he just rode that accomplishment for as much as he could. Then he just fucking cracked under pressure trying to make Fez 2, and yeah, then he left the internet forever, or he left social media forever at the very least. But I will say, much as he did a really despicable bullshit thing and was a shithead back then, I will say, going off the grid like that is actually respectable in its own right. So, I don't know. Very mixed feelings on that guy. I don't know what to tell you in the long run.
Yeah. You know what they say about opinions and such.
Everyone has one. They all stink like an asshole.
Essentially, yes.
Okay. No, BL, I never actually played Fez. I think
I.
at this point I should probably just, pop the bottle cap off and actually give it an earnest roll. Like, he's not going to make any money on it, so fuck.
Yeah, I got no desire to play that, so.
That's fair.
Yeah, but the way I see it, the older I get and the more gaming goes on without me, the more I just hit the reverse course switch and go back.
Yeah. As you have noted, there are at least a pretty healthy amount of homebrews being released for some older systems that are really cool.
Oh,
so
yeah.
you still have at least that going for you. So you still are in some way connected to modern gaming, even if it's like the least modern branch possible.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, pretty much.
Well, and if you want to look at something else, you know how the 2600 Plus came out recently?
Yeah.
That thing is actually sold extremely well.
That's surprising. I kind of thought it was going to fall on its face.
Nope, and I got it from a couple people that I've made the acquaintance of on the Atari Age forum that the latest firmware revision they're working on is going to fix a lot of the launch problems.
Cool.
So,
very cool.
However, it'll still probably never play Pitfall 2, so I'm not going to get one.
Oh, well.
Bringing it back full circle there.
Well, thank you for that, then.
Yeah, Prime, I hear you there. It's like there was a song by the band called named Sloan, a Canadian band out of Halifax, I think.
I know about it.
They did a song called Left of Center, which kind of sums that whole thing up. It's like, the first line of the song is, I remember Uncle Owen because his story's aimed at me. That was 1977 and I was in grade 3. Since then I got to thinking that I really can't remember the last time I was the center of the target of pop culture. Sharon, no, he's not talking about Fez on that 70 show. It's a game called Fez.
Yeah. Where he plays a guy wearing a fez. Hence the name.
Fez. Too bad it's not the 11th Doctor.
No! Oh, shut up now.
Yeah, you did that and your mic just went anyway, so.
Sorry.
But yeah, that's you fire up Left to Center sometime. You'll hear what I'm talking about.
That sounds about right. Well, for my part, I still am connected to modern gaming for some fucking reason. I am actually
disconnect.
No. Shut up. I'm going somewhere with this. I do still like some things that are done with modern gaming, and fuck it. There were a lot of games last year alone that I was actually very interested in and very much enjoyed playing. But I do genuinely wonder just how long this streak of good games is going to continue, but I feel there's some writing on the wall that this current era is going to come to a close at some point, and games are just going to get immensely shitty at some point because, like I mentioned earlier, 2023 had a lot of layoffs and a lot of shitty business decisions, and with the rise of fucking AI, companies are trying to push them, and maybe they'll try and make more games with that, and they're just going to be like absolute fucking shit pudding. And I don't know. I'm worried that there is going to be an insurmountable wall with the course that gaming is going at some point. And if it gets to that, whatever, I got a fucking big backlog to get on, and I will just crack on that fucking backlog. That's all I can really do. And it is what it is, and, it's a lot of stuff I still have to get on, classic or modern, so, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, I do want to address something Bruno said. So 10 sold units is a good number. Shouldn't you be reserving that kind of snark for Sega?
Wait, hang on. Yeah, Bruno.
Thank you, Mike.
But yeah, there have been a lot of great indie games. Like, last year alone, there was like Dredge, which I really liked. Vengeful Guardian Moonrider is a really cool one. Oh man, what did I even? I heard a lot good about Venba, although I didn't play that one. But yeah, no. I mean, the Indiescape still has its own pitfalls, but it is mostly better, I think, than AAA for the most part. So I don't know. Gaming, I think, will continue in some way. Whether or not it continues in a direction that I will appreciate has yet to be seen. But being that it did kind of stray off the path that I wanted it to back in the late 2000s and early 2010s, I'm not going to say there's a golden sun over the horizon there. We'll just have to see where it ends up.
Yes.
Although Scrollboss did say he bought Street Fighter 6 and really love it. Yeah, Street Fighter 6 is one of my favorite games from last year. Much better than 4 and 5. For the most part, I really like it. I just wish it had a spicier roster. I think they played it a little bit too safe with the opening roster, and I haven't really found anyone that I super click with yet, but I'm sure that'll change as they add new characters. I guess Guile's my de facto main. He was going to be my main if I couldn't find anyone better, so... But, yeah, at least Street Fighter's in a pretty good place. And Heian says best AA game I played in the last few years was Death Stranding. That was a really interesting one. I liked it for, the first 2/3 of the game, but I thought its gameplay problems kind of really spiked when I got to the mountains. That's when it started to get kind of tedious, in my opinion. But I still enjoyed it quite a bit. It was very unique and very uniquely Kojima-esque, and I liked it in the end, so...
If I had to pick what my favorite game of 2023 was, I'd have to say Arty.
Oh, yeah, the Heroes, the spiritual successor to Hero.
Yep. Archaeological Rescue Team International. Arty.
The strongest man in the world. Sorry.
Yes, it's for the Atari 700.
Uh-huh.
No, I don't care if it's not on the PlayStation 5 or whatever.
You don't need to. It's a valid answer as any. And
yes, there is.
Storm's only just now learning about this. Yeah, I've yet to play it, but I really should at some point. So, yeah,
cool stuff. At the most, I can get you guys the demo for it. The actual full game hasn't been released digitally, so currently cartridge only. But,
yeah, the demo would be nice. So.
Yeah, the demo will definitely give you a good sense of what the game is like.
Sweet.
Very. Oh, yeah. I like that one quite a bit. And it's interesting that they put some, keep in mind, it's called the Archaeological Rescue Team International. So you do rescue some archaeologists, some very familiar ones.
Does one of them happen to have a brown hat of some sort?
Why, in fact, he does.
Actually, I'm curious, what other cameos do they have?
Well, the other one's wearing kind of a aqua blue tank top.
Ah, yes, her. She, as it were. Mm-hmm. That would fit. That would totally fit.
Yep. If he is, I haven't gotten that far into the game to find out.
If he does, I'm going to politely request they remove him from it.
Too late.
No, I wouldn't go that far. God, Nathan Drake fucking sucks. God. I'm sorry, Sam. He does, okay? Fuck. God. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Damn it, Bruno. God.
Bruno, you're about 3 seconds from getting the Ash banner.
Yeah, There's no way Nate would ever wear a hat. His hair is too perfect. Like it has to have nothing on it for its improbable physics to stand out. You understand?
Exactly. Anyway, it's going on midnight here. We're kind of running out of steam, I think, and we've pretty much discussed everything we had in mind for this random show about accessing memories that's not related to Daft Punk.
This actually went much better than I thought it would, and I think like me babbling into several tangents actually worked in our favor for once. Right. So you know, I didn't have to get the for once. So.
Nope. But yeah, so we've only done one other stream like this before, so we'll probably do a few more in the future, but we do have the regular streams planned coming up.
Yep.
So, and we definitely have a lot of subjects we want to tackle.
Oh, yeah.
And for anyone who's still curious, yes, the books are still coming.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, now that the holidays have passed, I, as of Monday, intend to get back to work on finishing the editing I need to do on them. Which isn't even editing the stories themselves. It's just I have to kind of change the layout. So.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. Also, Bruno, you are wrong. I am right. And that's just the way it is.
The only Genesis that I accept that sucks is led by Ray Wilson. And even then, it's not a terrible... They're still better than Creed, okay? That's the best comparison I can think of. I'm running out of ideas.
Yeah, you're completely out. So I think with that, we're just going to go ahead and sign off. So,
yep.
Good night, everybody.
Take care. Good night, hosers. But no, seriously, have a good night.